Don't do this. Her voice trembled as she stood frozen in the middle of the church aisle, her wedding dress brushing against the polished floor. More than 200 guests sat in complete silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The air felt unbearably heavy. Tears burned in her eyes as she stared at the phone in her shaking hands, reading the same message over and over again. 3 lines. Just 3 cruel lines. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I'm leaving. Her groom had disappeared. Vanished. On the very day he was supposed to become her husband. The whispers began almost immediately. Oh, my God. He left her? This is humiliating. Her chest tightened. She could barely breathe. Every dream she had built over the last 4 years collapsed in a single moment. She felt broken, humiliated, abandoned. But what happened next? No one in that church saw coming. A man suddenly stood up from the back row. Tall, calm, powerful. Every eye turned toward him as he began walking down the aisle. Slow, steady, confident. He stopped right in front of her. She looked up through blurred tears. Their eyes met, and before anyone could understand what was happening, he gently held her face and kissed her. The entire church gasped. Then he turned toward the stunned crowd and said something that changed both of their lives forever. She will not leave here alone. Welcome back to Love Stories by Mr. Johnson, where love, heartbreak, healing, and second chances collide in unforgettable ways. If you love powerful emotional stories with life-changing lessons, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a story. Because today's story will teach you something powerful. Sometimes, the greatest heartbreak of your life becomes the beginning of your greatest blessing. But before we continue, tell me in the comments, what would you do if you were abandoned at the altar? Now, let's begin. Don't do this. Ava Mitchell's voice trembled as she stood frozen at the altar, her fingers clutching her bouquet so tightly that the stems pressed painfully into her palms. The church was silent. Not peaceful silence. Not the sacred kind people expected during weddings. This silence was heavy, awkward, painful. More than 200 guests sat motionless in polished wooden pews, dressed in elegant suits and beautiful dresses, watching a moment that no one had prepared for. The groom was missing. Ava's heart pounded violently against her chest. Her breathing turned shallow. She could feel everyone staring, whispering, judging. Her wedding dress suddenly felt too heavy, as though every layer of lace and satin carried the weight of humiliation. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not today. Not here. Not like this. Welcome back to Love Stories by Mr. Johnson, where we bring you powerful stories about love, heartbreak, healing, and second chances. If you love emotional stories with meaningful life lessons, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another unforgettable story. Today's story carries a powerful reminder. Sometimes, life breaks your heart. Not to destroy you, but to redirect you. And trust me, what happened next in Ava's life would change everything. But before we continue, tell me in the comments, what would you do if you were abandoned at the altar? Now, let's begin. 2 hours earlier, Ava had looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. Not because she believed in fairy tales. Ava was too practical for that. At 31, she had spent most of her life learning how to be responsible. She wasn't the type to dream about luxury weddings or perfect romance. She believed in effort, in consistency, in showing up. That was how she approached everything. Her career, her friendships, her family, and love. Especially love. She worked as an operations manager at one of the busiest hospitals in New York City, where every day was built around pressure, deadlines, and solving problems no one else wanted to deal with. Ava was dependable, reliable, the kind of woman people trusted, the woman everyone leaned on. She had built her life on discipline and stability. That was why Trevor made sense. Trevor Langston entered her life 4 years ago like sunlight through a window. Warm, charming, effortless. They met through mutual friends during a rooftop birthday dinner in Brooklyn. Trevor worked in corporate sales and had the kind of personality that made everyone feel seen. He was funny, confident, easy to talk to. Where Ava was steady, Trevor was spontaneous. Where Ava planned everything, Trevor made life feel lighter. At first, he felt like balance, like exactly what she needed. And when he proposed 18 months ago, Ava said yes without hesitation. She truly believed she was marrying the man she would build a future with. But if she was honest with herself, things had changed, slowly, quietly, in ways she ignored because she wanted things to work. Trevor became distant. Late-night work excuses became common. Missed dinners, cancelled plans, shorter conversations. Ava noticed. Of course she noticed. But she kept telling herself relationships went through difficult seasons. People got stressed. Life became busy. Love required patience. So she stayed patient. She stayed understanding. She kept showing up. Because that's what Ava Mitchell always did. She showed up. Even when things felt wrong. Even when her instincts whispered uncomfortable truths. She kept choosing loyalty. Because walking away felt harder than hoping things would get better. Now she stood in front of everyone she loved. Waiting. Still hoping. Still trying to believe there was some explanation. Her maid of honor, Jasmine, hurried toward her. Jasmine's face had gone pale. That alone terrified Ava. Because Jasmine was never easily shaken. Ava! Jasmine's voice cracked. Ava swallowed hard. What happened? Jasmine hesitated. And in that tiny hesitation, Ava felt something inside her begin to collapse. No. Jasmine's eyes filled with tears. Ava! No. Her voice came out sharper now. No. Tell me. Jasmine slowly held out a phone. Trevor's name glowed on the screen. Ava stared, then looked at the message. Her vision blurred. She read it once, then again, then again. 3 lines. 3 devastating lines. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I'm leaving. The church disappeared. Sound vanished. Everything around her faded. Her body went cold. She couldn't breathe. No. 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 This had to be a mistake. This wasn't real. This couldn't be happening. Not today. Not here. Not to her. Her hands shook violently. The bouquet slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. Gasps rippled through the church. Whispers spread like wildfire. Oh my God. He left? Is this real? That's horrible. Humiliation crashed into her all at once. Not just heartbreak. Humiliation. Because everyone was watching. Watching her break. Watching the worst moment of her life unfold in public. Ava felt her knees weaken. She wanted to run. Hide. Disappear. Anything to escape the hundreds of eyes fixed on her. Then the doors at the back of the church opened. A quiet movement. A figure stood. Tall. Broad shoulders. Perfectly tailored dark suit. Every eye shifted. A man from the last row began walking down the aisle. Slowly. Calmly. Purposefully. Ava blinked through tears. She recognized him. Barely. Adrian Cole. Trevor's former client. And one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. Founder and CEO of Cole Logistics. Billionaire. Public figure. Known for building one of America's largest logistics empires before 40. Ava had met him only once. Briefly. At a corporate dinner Trevor dragged her to last year. He barely spoke that night. Quiet. Sharp. Observant. Intimidating even. She remembered Trevor calling him brilliant. Cold. Unreachable. So why was he here? And why was he walking toward her? The church held its breath. Adrian's expression remained unreadable, but there was something steady in his eyes, something calm. Grounded. Not pity. Not curiosity. Something else. Something Ava couldn't understand. He stopped in front of her. Close enough for her to notice the faint tension in his jaw. Close enough for her to realize he smelled faintly of cedar and clean cologne. Close enough for her to hear him speak in a low, steady voice. Ava. Her lips trembled. She stared at him. Tears spilled freely now. She hated crying in front of people. Hated appearing weak. But in that moment, she couldn't stop. Adrian looked at her like she was the only person in the room. Like the whispers didn't exist. Like the humiliation didn't define her. Like she was still whole. His voice softened. Look at me. She did, barely. He gently lifted her chin. The touch was careful. Respectful. Warm. Everything around them felt suspended in time. And before Ava could fully process what was happening, Adrian leaned in and kissed her. The church exploded in gasps. Shock, disbelief, whispers turned into chaos. But Ava heard none of it. For one impossible moment, the noise vanished. The humiliation disappeared. The heartbreak paused. His kiss wasn't passionate. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't possessive. It was something far stranger, steadier, softer, almost protective. A kiss that somehow said, "You are not alone." When Adrian pulled back, Ava stood frozen, completely stunned. The church was in absolute chaos. Adrian turned toward the crowd. His voice was calm, controlled, powerful. Yet every word landed with force. She will not leave here alone. Silence returned instantly. No one moved. No one dared speak. Adrian looked back at Ava. His voice dropped low enough for only her to hear. You can fall apart later. His gaze held hers. But not here. Ava's breathing shook. Tears streamed down her face. And for the first time in the most humiliating moment of her life, she felt something unexpected. Safety. Then Adrian said 5 words that changed everything. "Come with me, Ava." And somehow, she nodded. The church remained frozen in stunned silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Ava Mitchell stood there, trembling, her mind struggling to catch up with what had just happened. Adrian Cole had kissed her. In front of everyone. In front of her family. Her friends. Her co-workers. Trevor's family. And now, he stood before her, with an expression so calm, it almost felt unreal. "Come with me, Ava." Her breathing shook. Nothing made sense. Her groom had abandoned her. A stranger, well, not completely a stranger, but close enough, had stepped in and somehow saved her from completely falling apart. Ava's heart raced. She should say no. She should ask questions. She should demand an explanation. But right now, standing under hundreds of eyes and drowning in humiliation, all she wanted was escape. She wanted out. Adrian extended his hand. Not forceful, not demanding. Just steady, patient, giving her a choice. Ava looked at his hand, then at the crowd. Her mother was crying. Jasmine looked worried but hopeful. The whispers had started again. Quiet, judging, curious, cruel. That was enough. Ava placed her trembling hand in Adrian's. His hand closed around hers. Warm, firm, reassuring. And together they turned and walked down the aisle. The same aisle she was supposed to walk down as a bride. But instead of beginning married life, she was walking away from public humiliation. The church erupted into murmurs. Phones appeared. People whispered aggressively. Everyone wanted details. Everyone wanted gossip. But Adrian ignored all of it. He simply walked beside her with quiet confidence, shielding her from the chaos around them. When they finally stepped outside, the cool afternoon air hit Ava's skin. She stopped breathing for a second. Then everything crashed into her. Her chest tightened. Her legs weakened. The adrenaline disappeared. Pain rushed in. Raw. Sharp. Overwhelming. Tears poured uncontrollably. She broke. A sob escaped her lips before she could stop it. Then another. Then another. Her knees nearly gave out. Adrian caught her instantly. His grip tightened around her shoulders. Easy. That one word shattered her remaining control. She cried harder. Not graceful tears. Not quiet tears. Ugly, painful, heartbroken sobs. Years of trust. Years of hope. Years of loyalty. Gone. Reduced to 3 cruel lines in a text message. "I don't understand," she whispered between sobs. Her voice cracked. "I don't understand." Adrian said nothing. He didn't offer empty words. Didn't say Trevor was stupid. Didn't tell her everything would be okay. He simply stayed. Present. Solid. That silence somehow comforted her more than words could. After several minutes, Ava finally managed to breathe again. Her body still trembled. Adrian studied her quietly. "Can you walk?" She nodded weakly. He guided her toward a sleek black SUV parked near the curb. A driver stepped forward to open the door. Adrian shook his head. "I'll drive." The driver immediately stepped back. Ava barely noticed. Her thoughts were a storm. Everything felt surreal. She slid into the passenger seat, her wedding dress awkwardly filling the space. Adrian got in beside her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then the car moved. The church disappeared behind them. So did the disaster, at least physically. Emotionally, it was still very much alive. Ava stared out the window. The city moved around them like normal. Cars, traffic, pedestrians, street vendors. Life continued, as if her world hadn't just ended. That hurt. How could everything look so normal when nothing felt normal anymore? After 20 minutes, Adrian pulled into a quiet neighborhood in Brooklyn. He parked in front of a small diner. Ava blinked, confused. Of all places, this was not what she expected. Not a luxury hotel. Not some penthouse. Just a simple diner. Adrian turned off the engine. "We're here." Ava stared at him. "You brought me... here?" For the first time, something close to amusement touched his face. "You need food." She almost laughed. Almost. "I just got dumped at the altar." His expression softened. "I know. And you think pancakes will help?" He looked at her calmly. "No." A pause. "But not eating will make everything worse." Ava stared at him. Then, despite everything, a tiny laugh escaped. Small, broken, but real. It surprised both of them. Adrian opened his door. "Come on." Inside, the diner was warm and quiet. Only a few customers sat scattered around. A waitress looked up. Her eyes widened slightly at Ava's wedding dress. But to her credit, she said nothing. She simply guided them to a private booth near the back. Ava sat down slowly. Adrian sat across from her. The silence stretched. A waitress brought menus. Ava didn't even look. Adrian ordered coffee, pancakes, eggs, and toast. When the waitress left, silence returned. Ava stared at her hands, still shaking. Finally, she spoke. "Why did you do that?" Adrian's gaze met hers. She swallowed hard. "At the church." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Why?" Adrian leaned back slightly. His expression remained unreadable, but his voice was honest. "Because no one else moved." Ava blinked. He continued. "Everyone just watched." His jaw tightened. "Some looked uncomfortable. Some looked embarrassed for you. Some were already gossiping." His eyes held hers. "But no one did anything." Ava felt emotion rise in her throat again. Adrian's voice softened. "No one deserves that." She looked down quickly. Tears threatened again. "I was humiliated." "Yes." His directness startled her. No false comfort. No pretending. Just truth. Ava laughed bitterly. "That obvious?" Adrian didn't smile. "Yes." That honesty somehow felt easier to trust. Ava stared at the untouched napkin in front of her. "I should have seen it." Adrian said nothing. She continued quietly. "Things changed months ago." Her voice shook. He became distant. She inhaled slowly. "I noticed." A painful pause. "But I kept making excuses. Because saying it out loud made it real." She whispered. "I ignored what I already knew." Adrian studied her carefully, then said something unexpected. "That doesn't make you foolish." Ava looked up. His expression remained calm. "It makes you human." Silence. Heavy. Meaningful. Then the food arrived. The smell of warm coffee filled the air. Ava stared at the pancakes. Then at Adrian. "This is ridiculous." "What is?" She gestured at everything. "My wedding day ends in a diner with a billionaire eating pancakes." This time, Adrian actually smiled. A real smile. Small, unexpected, dangerously attractive. "Yes." Ava stared. For the first time since this nightmare began, the crushing weight on her chest eased slightly. Just slightly. Adrian picked up his coffee. "You should eat." Ava exhaled slowly. Then, against all logic, she reached for the fork. And somewhere between the first bite of pancake and the second sip of coffee, Ava realized something strange. The pain was still there. The heartbreak still burned. But for the first time since Trevor's text, she no longer felt completely alone. And sitting across from Adrian Cole, the quiet billionaire who barely spoke but somehow understood exactly what she needed, Ava felt the smallest flicker of something she thought had died at the altar. Not happiness, not hope, not yet. Just relief. And sometimes, after devastation, relief is the first step toward healing. She had no idea that this quiet man sitting across from her was about to change her life forever. Before we continue this unbelievable story, I want to hear from you. If you were in Ava's position, what would you have done? Would you have completely broken down after being abandoned at the altar? Or would you have found the strength to walk away with your head held high? And let me ask you something even deeper. Do you think Adrian stepped in out of kindness? Or do you believe fate brought him into Ava's life for a reason? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I'd really love to hear your perspective. And if this story is already pulling at your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who believes painful endings can lead to beautiful new beginnings. Because, trust me, what happens next between Ava and Adrian will leave you speechless. 3 days later, Ava Mitchell returned to work. Not because she was ready. Not because she had healed. But because staying home felt worse. At home, the silence was unbearable. Too loud. Too empty. Every room reminded her of Trevor. The couch where they argued. The kitchen where they shared rushed breakfasts. The dining table where wedding invitations had once been spread out. Everything hurt. At least at work, pain had competition. At work, there were schedules to manage, emails to answer, problems to solve. At work, people needed her. And Ava had always known how to function when people needed her. She arrived at the hospital at 7:15 a.m., coffee in hand, dressed in a navy blouse and tailored black pants. Professional, composed, controlled, at least on the outside. Inside, she felt fragile, exhausted, raw. The moment she stepped into the hospital, familiar sounds surrounded her. Phones ringing, monitors beeping, nurses walking quickly through hallways, doctors exchanging updates. Normal, predictable, busy. A strange comfort settled over her. This world made sense. This world had rules, unlike love. "Ava!" She turned. Jasmine stood there, holding 2 coffees. Concern filled her eyes. "How are you feeling?" Ava gave a tired smile. "That depends." Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "On what?" Ava adjusted the strap of her bag. "Are you asking as my best friend, or as HR?" That earned a small laugh. "Both." Ava exhaled. "Still breathing?" Jasmine's face softened. That answer told her everything. Jasmine stepped closer. "You know, you don't have to pretend with me." Ava swallowed. She knew that. But pretending felt easier. Because if she stopped pretending, she might break. Again. And she couldn't afford that. Not here. Not now. "I'm okay." Jasmine gave her a look that clearly said she didn't believe her. But she didn't push. Instead, she squeezed Ava's arm. 1 hour at a time. Ava nodded. 1 hour at a time. The day moved quickly. Meetings, scheduling problems, staff shortages, an insurance escalation, 2 patient complaints, a delayed discharge, problem after problem. And strangely enough, Ava felt relief. Because for several hours, she didn't think about Trevor. She didn't think about the wedding. She didn't think about humiliation. She simply worked, solved problems, made decisions, functioned. It felt familiar, safe. Then lunch came. And everything changed. Because once the chaos slowed, her thoughts returned. She sat alone in her office, staring at untouched food. Her phone rested beside her, silent. No calls from Trevor, no messages, nothing. Not even an apology beyond that cruel text. Pain tightened in her chest. 4 years. 4 years together. And this was how it ended? 3 lines? No explanation. No conversation. Nothing. Ava closed her eyes. Anger rose now. Not sadness. Anger. Deep. Hot. Sharp. How dare he? How dare Trevor reduce 4 years to a text message? How dare he humiliate her and disappear? A knock interrupted her thoughts. She quickly straightened. "Come in." Jasmine stepped inside, holding her phone. Her expression was strange, concern mixed with curiosity. "Ava." Ava frowned. "What?" Jasmine held up the phone. "There's something you should see." Ava's stomach dropped. "What now?" Jasmine walked over. She placed the phone on Ava's desk. Ava looked down. Her breath caught. It was an article, a gossip blog, and the headline made her stomach twist. Billionaire CEO Adrian Cole shocks guests by kissing abandoned bride at wedding. Her chest tightened. "No, no, no." She grabbed the phone. "Read faster." There were photos, blurry, but clear enough. Her, standing at the altar, crying. Adrian walking toward her. The kiss. Humiliation returned instantly. Fresh, sharp, violent. "Oh my God!" Jasmine sat down. "I'm sorry." Ava's hands trembled. "It's online?" Jasmine nodded. "It's spreading." Ava stared at the article. Then another feeling surfaced. Confusion. Because the comments below were unexpected, not cruel, mostly supportive. Some angry at Trevor. Many praising Adrian. One comment stood out. That man protected her dignity when no one else did. Ava stared at that sentence. Protected her dignity. Her mind drifted back to the church, to Adrian's voice, to his steady gaze, to the diner, to pancakes, to that strange calm he carried. Then her phone buzzed. A text message. Unknown number. Her heart skipped. She opened it. It was him. Adrian Cole. Her pulse quickened. The message was short, simple, direct. "How are you holding up?" Ava stared, then read it again. Jasmine noticed her expression. "What?" Ava slowly turned the phone toward her. Jasmine's eyes widened. "Oh." Ava swallowed. Her heartbeat became louder. Jasmine leaned back. "Well?" Ava looked at her. "Well, what?" Jasmine smiled. "Well, the billionaire texted." Ava rolled her eyes despite herself. "This isn't funny." Jasmine shrugged. "I didn't say it was." She pointed at the phone. "But I am curious what you're going to say." Ava looked back at the message. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. She didn't know why she felt nervous. This was ridiculous. Adrian was just checking in, right? Nothing more. Still, his message did something unexpected. It made her feel remembered, seen. And, after everything, that mattered more than she wanted to admit. Ava stared at Adrian's message for nearly 30 seconds. 3 simple words. "How are you holding up?" That was all. No dramatic speech. No unnecessary explanation. Just a direct question. Simple. Yet somehow, it carried weight. Jasmine crossed her arms and leaned against the desk. "Well?" Ava looked up. Well, what? Jasmine gave her a look. Are you going to reply? Ava glanced back at the phone. Her heartbeat felt annoyingly loud. Why was she nervous? This was just a text. A check-in message. Nothing more. Still, Adrian Cole was not someone who texted casually. At least, that was what she assumed. Everything about him felt deliberate. Controlled. Measured. Even at the diner, he had spoken only when necessary. But every word had mattered. Ava exhaled, then typed, "I'm okay," trying to get through work. She stared at the screen for a second, then hit send. Almost immediately, the typing bubble appeared. That surprised her. Then another message came. "You don't have to pretend with me." Ava froze. Jasmine noticed. What did he say? Ava slowly turned the phone. Jasmine read it, then looked up. Oh. Ava swallowed. Something about that message unsettled her. Not in a bad way, in an uncomfortable way, because it felt too accurate, too direct. She looked at the screen again, then typed slowly. "I'm trying not to fall apart." This time his reply took longer, nearly a minute. Then, "That sounds more honest." Ava blinked. A small laugh escaped. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. "Did the billionaire just call you out?" Ava shook her head. "He's very blunt." Jasmine smirked. "Interesting." Ava ignored that. Her attention stayed on the screen. Another message came. "Have you eaten?" Ava frowned. Of all things to ask. "That?" She typed back. "Barely touched lunch." His response came quickly. "I expected that." Then another message. "Eat something before you leave work." Ava stared. Something strange happened in her chest. Warmth. Small. Unexpected. It wasn't the words. It was the fact that he noticed. That he paid attention. Trevor used to notice things. At least, in the beginning. When had that changed? When had she stopped feeling seen? She pushed the thought away. Jasmine watched her carefully. "You're smiling." Ava looked up. "No, I'm not." Jasmine folded her arms. "Yes, you are." Ava rolled her eyes. "It's not like that." Jasmine grinned. "I didn't say anything." The rest of the afternoon passed quickly, but Adrian's messages lingered in Ava's thoughts. She hated admitting it. But hearing from him helped. Not because he was rich, not because of what happened at the wedding, but because there was something grounding about him, something steady. That steadiness calmed her. By the time Ava left work, the city was glowing in early evening light. She walked toward the parking garage, exhausted. Her heels clicked softly against the pavement. Her phone buzzed again. "Adrian, did you eat?" Ava stopped walking, stared at the message, then typed, "Yes. Happy now?" The reply came almost instantly, slightly. Ava laughed. A real laugh. The first one in days. Then another message appeared. "Progress." She smiled despite herself. Before she could think too much, she typed, "You do this often?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, returned. Then, "Do what?" Ava typed, "Check in on women whose weddings you crash?" A pause. Then his reply came. "No, this is a first." Ava laughed again. She leaned against her car. Something about this conversation felt easy, natural, which confused her, because Adrian in person was intimidating, quiet, unreadable. But through text, he was unexpectedly sharp, dry, almost funny. Her phone buzzed again. "Have dinner with me tomorrow." Ava blinked. That was direct, very direct. No build-up, no hesitation. Just ask. Her pulse quickened. She stared at the message. Jasmine's voice echoed in her head. The billionaire texted. Ava inhaled slowly. "Dinner? Already? Was that a good idea?" She barely knew him. And emotionally, she was still a mess. Part of her wanted to say no, to protect herself, to keep things simple, safe. But another part of her, the honest part, knew something. She wanted to see him again. That realization startled her. Not because she liked him. No, it wasn't that. Not yet. But because she felt safe around him. And right now, safety mattered. More than anything. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed. Deleted. Typed again. Deleted. Finally. "Dinner as in, dinner?" His response came immediately. "Yes, food, conversation, nothing complicated." Ava smiled. Then another message appeared. "You can say no." A pause. Then, "But I hope you don't." Her heartbeat stumbled. That one message landed harder than it should have. Because beneath Adrian's calm confidence, she sensed something genuine. No pressure, no manipulation, just honesty. Ava stared at the screen for several seconds, then slowly typed. "Okay." The typing bubble appeared immediately. "Good." Then another. "I'll pick you up at 7." Ava frowned. She quickly typed, "That wasn't a yes to you picking me up." His reply came, "Noted, then. I'll send the address instead." Ava laughed again, then shook her head. Unbelievable. She got into her car, set her phone down, and sat there quietly, processing. 3 days ago, she had been abandoned at the altar, humiliated, broken, certain her life had collapsed. Now, here she was, agreeing to dinner with the billionaire who kissed her in front of 200 guests. Life made no sense, but for the first time in days, Ava didn't feel trapped in heartbreak. She felt something else, something fragile, something new, possibility, and though she didn't know it yet, that dinner would change everything. The next evening, Ava spent far too much time staring at her closet. She hated that. Hated that she was nervous. Hated that her heart was beating faster over something as simple as dinner. This wasn't a date. At least, that's what she kept telling herself. Adrian said it himself. Food, conversation, nothing complicated. So why did it feel complicated? Ava exhaled and looked at the dresses hanging in front of her. Too formal, too casual, too much, too little. Frustrated, she grabbed a simple dark green dress that stopped just above her knees. Elegant, minimal, comfortable, good enough. She kept her makeup light and natural, nothing dramatic. By 6:55 p.m. she was seated in her car, parked outside the restaurant Adrian had texted her. It was an upscale but quiet restaurant in Manhattan. Warm lighting glowed through the windows. The atmosphere felt intimate, without being overwhelming. Ava checked her reflection in the mirror, then shook her head. Why am I acting like this? Before she could overthink further, her phone buzzed. Adrian, I'm inside. Short. Direct. Of course. Ava grabbed her purse and stepped out. The cool evening air brushed against her skin as she walked toward the entrance. A hostess greeted her. Good evening. Name? Ava Mitchell. The hostess smiled politely. Right this way. As she followed the hostess deeper inside, Ava's pulse quickened. Then she saw him. Adrian sat at a corner table near the window. Dark suit, white shirt, no tie. Clean, simple, effortlessly polished. But what caught her attention wasn't what he wore. It was the fact that he stood the moment he saw her. His gaze held hers. Steady, calm. And for a second, everything else faded. He looked at her like he was genuinely glad she came. That surprised her. Adrian stepped forward slightly. You came. Ava raised an eyebrow as she sat. You sound surprised. He sat across from her. I wasn't certain. Ava placed her purse beside her. Why? His expression remained calm. Because you're smart. That caught her off guard. She blinked. And smart people usually avoid complicated situations. A small smile touched Ava's lips. So, I'm making a bad decision? A rare hint of amusement appeared in Adrian's eyes. We'll find out. Ava laughed softly. The tension eased. A waiter arrived and poured water. Menus followed. For a few moments, they looked through them in comfortable silence. But unlike awkward silence, this felt easy. Eventually, Adrian closed his menu. I already know what I want. Ava glanced up. Of course you do. He tilted his head slightly. You don't? She smiled. No, some of us require time. Adrian studied her. Then, something softened in his expression. You seem better. The warmth in her chest returned. He noticed. Again, Ava set her menu down. I'm functioning. His gaze sharpened. Functioning and healing are different. That landed. Hard. Ava looked down. Then quietly admitted. I know. Silence stretched between them. Not uncomfortable. Just honest. Ava traced the rim of her glass. Work helps. Adrian nodded. It would. She looked at him. How do you know? His expression didn't change. Because work helps me too. That surprised her. Ava leaned back slightly. You use work as an escape? A small pause. Then Adrian answered. Yes. No hesitation. No performance. Just truth. Ava studied him carefully. This man fascinated her. Everything about him felt controlled, disciplined. Yet there was something deeper beneath that surface. Something lonely. Something guarded. She found herself asking, do you ever slow down? Adrian met her gaze. Not often. Why? A faint smile touched his lips. That sounds like therapy. Ava smiled. I work in healthcare. We ask questions. He held her gaze, then answered quietly, because slowing down forces silence. Ava stilled. Something shifted. The conversation had changed. This was no longer surface level. She spoke carefully. And silence bothers you? Adrian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Yes. Ava said nothing. She sensed this mattered. After a moment, Adrian exhaled, then said something that surprised her. When things get quiet. His voice lowered. I think. Ava waited. His eyes remained on hers. About what I sacrificed to get where I am. The words hit softly, but deeply. Ava saw it now. The loneliness, the cost, the invisible burden. Success had given Adrian power, money, status, but it had taken something too. Peace, connection, perhaps even joy. For the first time, Ava stopped seeing the billionaire. She saw the man, and the man looked tired. Not physically, emotionally. She spoke gently. That sounds lonely. Adrian didn't respond immediately, but something in his expression changed, like no one had said that to him before. Finally, he said, It is. That single confession made Ava's chest tighten, because she understood loneliness, maybe differently, but deeply. She knew what it felt like to carry pain quietly, to appear strong while hurting inside. She knew what it felt like to be surrounded by people and still feel alone. Without thinking, she said, I understand. Adrian studied her carefully. He believed her. She could see it. And somehow, that understanding created something powerful. Not romance. Not yet. But connection. Real connection. The kind built in quiet moments of honesty. The waiter returned with food, briefly interrupting the moment. But something had changed. The walls between them were lower now. A little. Not fully, but enough. As dinner continued, conversation flowed more naturally. They talked about work, family, childhood, small things, meaningful things. And slowly, Ava realized something dangerous. She liked talking to Adrian, more than she expected, more than she should, because talking to him felt safe, and that frightened her, because safety had once fooled her before. Still, she couldn't ignore one truth. Tonight, for the first time in a long time, she felt seen. Dinner stretched far longer than Ava expected. At some point, she stopped checking the time, stopped overthinking, stopped reminding herself that this was supposed to be simple. Because nothing about tonight felt simple anymore. What surprised her most wasn't Adrian's wealth. It wasn't his status. It wasn't even the quiet intensity he carried. It was how normal he felt. Not ordinary. No, Adrian Cole was far from ordinary. But beneath the billionaire headlines and polished image, he felt human, real, and strangely easy to talk to. That unsettled Ava, because she wasn't supposed to feel comfortable this quickly, especially not after everything. The waiter cleared their plates. Adrian leaned back slightly. His attention remained fully on her. No phone, no distractions, no divided focus. That alone felt rare. Ava noticed. You never check your phone? Adrian raised an eyebrow. Why? She smiled. Because most people do. A faint smile touched his lips. You noticed? Yes. A brief pause. Then he said, When I choose to be somewhere, I prefer to actually be there. Ava froze for a second. That sentence landed harder than he probably realized. Because Trevor was always distracted. Always checking emails. Always glancing at notifications. Always physically present, but mentally somewhere else. A painful comparison rose in her mind. She pushed it away. Still, Adrian noticed the shift in her expression. His gaze sharpened. What? Ava hesitated, then sighed. You're very present. Adrian held her gaze. That sounds like criticism. Ava laughed softly. No. She shook her head. It's actually refreshing. Silence stretched. Then, Adrian spoke. Trevor wasn't. Her smile faded. Direct. Again. No dancing around things. Just truth. Ava looked down at her water glass. No. The word came quietly, but heavily. Adrian said nothing. He waited, giving her space. That patience made it easier to speak. Ava exhaled. At first, he was. Her voice softened. In the beginning, Trevor made me feel important. A bitter smile touched her lips. He remembered everything. Her favorite coffee. Her stressful workdays. The little things. Ava swallowed. Then somewhere along the way, she paused. Emotion tightened in her throat. I stopped feeling chosen. Adrian's expression shifted. Something in his eyes softened. Ava stared down at her hands. She hated admitting this out loud, because speaking truth made pain harder to avoid. But tonight, something about Adrian made honesty easier. He stopped showing up emotionally. She inhaled slowly. And I kept making excuses. Why? Because love makes people patient. sometimes too patient, because people hold on to potential long after reality changes. Ava laughed quietly. Sad, tired. I kept telling myself things would improve. She looked up, but, deep down, her voice cracked slightly. I knew. Adrian's gaze never left hers. He understood. She could feel it. Then he asked quietly, "Why did you stay?" The question wasn't judgmental, just honest. Ava leaned back, thinking. Why had she stayed? The answer came easier than expected. Because leaving felt like failure. Silence. She continued. I've spent my whole life being dependable. Strong. Reliable. The one who holds everything together. She gave a humorless laugh. Walking away felt like giving up. Adrian studied her. Then he said something so quietly she almost missed it. Sometimes, walking away is strength. Ava stilled. That sentence hit somewhere deep. Because she had spent years believing endurance was strength. Patience was strength. Holding on was strength. But maybe letting go required courage too. Adrian's voice remained calm. You stayed because you wanted it to work. A pause. That doesn't make you weak. Emotion rose in Ava's chest. Again, she hated how easily he seemed to see through her. Not in an uncomfortable way, in a way that felt almost relieving. Like she didn't need to perform. Didn't need to appear perfectly okay. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ava tilted her head slightly. My turn? Adrian raised an eyebrow. My turn what? To ask questions. A rare smile touched his lips. That sounds dangerous. Ava smiled. Good. She studied him. Then asked the question that had lingered all night. Why are you alone? Adrian went still. Completely still. Ava immediately regretted it. She winced. You don't have to answer that. Silence. Long. Then Adrian surprised her. He answered, because I built my life around winning. His voice was steady, controlled, but beneath it, something vulnerable surfaced. Winning in business. Winning in negotiations. Winning in growth. His jaw tightened. I got very good at it. Ava listened carefully. Adrian's gaze drifted briefly toward the window, then back to her. But somewhere along the way, his voice lowered. I became very bad at everything else. That confession sat heavily between them. Ava saw him differently now. Not powerful, not intimidating. Just honest. Human. She spoke softly. You sacrificed a lot. Adrian gave a small nod. Yes. A pause. Too much. There it was. Regret. Raw. Quiet. Real. Ava felt her chest tighten. Because beneath all his control, Adrian carried pain too. Different pain, but pain all the same. She studied him carefully, then smiled gently. So basically, she tilted her head. We're both disasters. That caught him off guard. For one brief second, Adrian laughed. A real laugh. Deep, warm, and stunning. Ava blinked, because that laugh changed him, softened him, made him feel years younger, more alive. His eyes held hers. Yes. A faint smile remained on his face. That seems accurate. Ava smiled too. And something shifted again. Subtly. Powerfully. The air between them felt different now. Warmer. Lighter. Safer. Neither of them said it. But both felt it. This connection. This strange pull. This growing comfort. It shouldn't make sense. Not this fast. Not after everything. And yet, it was real. Ava glanced at the time and blinked. Oh, wow. Adrian followed her gaze. What? It's almost 11. A slight pause. Neither moved. Neither seemed eager to leave. That realization made Ava's pulse quicken. Adrian looked at her. Quietly. Steadily. And in that moment, Ava recognized something dangerous. She didn't want tonight to end. That truth scared her. Because feelings this early felt reckless. But one thing was undeniable. Adrian no longer felt like the billionaire who kissed her at the altar. He felt like something else. Someone else. Someone familiar. Someone safe. And somehow, that felt far more dangerous than attraction. Because attraction fades. But emotional connection, that changes everything. After dinner, Ava told herself she needed space. That would be the smart thing. The responsible thing. She had just come out of a devastating heartbreak. Emotionally, she was still fragile. The last thing she needed was to rush into something complicated, especially with Adrian Cole, a billionaire, a powerful CEO, a man whose life looked nothing like hers. Logic told her to slow down, Her heart agreed. At least in theory. Reality had other plans. Because Adrian didn't disappear after dinner, he didn't overwhelm her either. Instead, he did something far more dangerous. He became consistent. The next morning, at exactly 7:12 a.m., Ava's phone buzzed while she stood in her kitchen waiting for coffee. Adrian, did you sleep? She stared at the message. Simple. Direct. Very Adrian. A small smile appeared before she could stop it. She typed back. Eventually, his reply came. That's progress. Ava shook her head. Ridiculous. And yet, her morning felt lighter. Over the next few days, something subtle began happening. Adrian became part of her routine, not in a dramatic way, not all at once, just gradually, quietly, naturally. Morning texts, short calls during lunch, messages in the evening, sometimes practical, sometimes funny, sometimes unexpectedly meaningful. And somehow, Ava found herself looking forward to them. That realization unsettled her, because this wasn't supposed to matter. Yet, it did. More than she wanted to admit. Tuesday evening turned into coffee. Thursday became dinner after work. Saturday became an unexpected walk through Brooklyn. Nothing extravagant, nothing flashy. That surprised Ava most. Adrian had access to everything money could buy. Luxury restaurants, private clubs, exclusive spaces. Yet somehow, he kept choosing ordinary things. And he seemed comfortable there. Very comfortable. They walked side by side through a quiet neighborhood street lined with brownstones and small cafes. The evening air was cool. People passed by walking dogs. Children played near the sidewalk. Couples laughed over coffee. Normal life. Simple life. Ava glanced sideways at Adrian. He wore dark jeans and a fitted charcoal sweater. Relaxed. Simple. Human. Not CEO Adrian. Just Adrian. She smiled slightly. What? His voice pulled her out of her thoughts. She blinked. What? You're looking at me. Ava rolled her eyes. You noticed? Yes. Of course he did. She laughed softly. Then said, You're different than I expected. Adrian looked ahead. How? Ava thought for a moment, then answered honestly. Less intimidating. That earned a faint smile. Only less? She laughed. Much less. A pause. Then she added, You're also surprisingly normal. That made Adrian glance at her. Normal? She smiled. You know what I mean. He raised an eyebrow. Explain. Ava shrugged. I expected private jets and five-star everything. Adrian's lips curved slightly. You sound disappointed. She laughed. I'm not. Adrian studied her briefly, then said, I spent years surrounded by expensive things. His voice remained calm. Eventually you realize comfort matters more than luxury. Ava absorbed that. It sounded simple, but it carried truth. She understood it. Sometimes people chase big things and miss what truly matters. Peace, comfort, presence. They kept walking. A comfortable silence settled between them. Not awkward. Easy. That word again. Easy. Being around Adrian felt easier than it should. Safer than it should. And that frightened Ava. Because comfort created attachment. Attachment created vulnerability. And vulnerability still felt dangerous. Her thoughts drifted. Maybe Adrian noticed, because his voice broke the silence. You're thinking. Ava sighed. You always notice. Yes. That answer came too quickly. Too naturally. She looked at him, then smiled. That's slightly annoying. A hint of amusement touched his face. I'll try harder to miss things. She laughed. Then her smile faded. Just slightly. Adrian noticed immediately. What changed? There it was again. That attentiveness. That steady observation. Ava exhaled slowly, then decided to be honest. I'm trying not to overthink this. Adrian's expression softened. This? She nodded. Us, though she didn't say the word. Adrian understood anyway. His gaze stayed steady. What are you overthinking? Ava looked ahead. The truth felt uncomfortable, but necessary. She inhaled slowly. This feels easy. A pause. Too easy. Adrian remained silent, listening. Ava continued. And that scares me. She swallowed. Because I trusted someone before. Her voice lowered. Look how that ended. Silence. The city noise softened around them. Cars passed. Voices drifted. Footsteps echoed. But Ava felt only the weight of honesty. Then Adrian spoke. Quietly. You're afraid of being wrong again. Ava looked at him. He saw it. Completely. She nodded once. Yes. Adrian's expression didn't change. No frustration, no defensiveness, just calm understanding. Then, he said something that stopped her. "I would be worried if you weren't afraid." Ava blinked. "What happened to you matters." His voice remained steady. "It changed how you trust." A pause. "That's normal?" Emotion rose in Ava's chest. Because he understood. Not just the surface, the deeper wound, the part she hadn't fully voiced. Adrian stopped walking. Ava stopped too. He turned to face her. Streetlights cast a warm glow across his face. His voice was low, measured, honest. "I'm not asking you to trust me quickly." Ava held his gaze. Her heartbeat slowed, then quickened again. Adrian continued, "I'm not asking you to ignore your fear." A pause. "I'm asking you to let me earn it." Silence. Heavy, meaningful. Ava felt her chest tighten. Those words landed deeply, because there was no pressure in them, no manipulation, no promises too big to believe. Just something simple, consistent, real. Earn it. Not demand it. Not expect it. Earn it. And somehow, that mattered more than grand declarations ever could. Ava stared at him. The evening air felt still, quiet. Then she asked softly, "And what if I disappoint you?" That question slipped out before she could stop it. Raw, honest, vulnerable. Adrian's expression softened in a way she had never seen before. He stepped slightly closer. Not touching, just closer. Close enough for her pulse to race. Then he said quietly, "Ava." His voice carried surprising warmth. "You're not the only one learning how to trust." That hit her instantly, because, for the first time, she realized something important. Adrian wasn't just helping her heal. He was vulnerable too, maybe differently, but deeply. And that realization changed everything. Because this wasn't one person saving another. This was two wounded people, slowly learning how to feel safe with each other. And perhaps, that was how real love began. After that walk, something between Ava and Adrian shifted. Not dramatically, not in a way anyone else would notice, but they both felt it. The distance between them had become smaller, the walls lower, the silence between them softer. Trust was growing, slowly, quietly. In the weeks that followed, Adrian became woven into Ava's life in ways she never expected. Not through grand gestures, not through expensive gifts, through ordinary things, the quiet things, the things people often overlook. Tuesday morning coffee, late night phone calls, checking in after stressful meetings, remembering small details, showing up, consistently. That consistency began changing something inside Ava. Because Adrian did something Trevor had stopped doing long ago. He paid attention. Not just to her words, to her moods, her habits, her silences. Especially her silences. One Wednesday evening, Ava had one of the worst shifts she'd experienced in months. Staff shortages, emergency escalations, an upset patient's family, multiple scheduling breakdowns. By the time she got home, exhaustion clung to every part of her. She dropped her bag near the couch, kicked off her shoes, and sat in silence. Too tired to cook, too drained to think. Her phone buzzed. "Adrian, how bad was today?" Ava stared at the message, then blinked. How did he know? She typed, "How do you know it was bad?" His response came quickly. "You didn't reply to my last 2 messages." Ava stared at the screen. Then something warm spread through her chest. He noticed. Again, she typed, "Long day. I'm exhausted." 3 dots appeared. Then, "Have you eaten?" Ava sighed. "Of course." She smiled slightly. "No." His reply came immediately. "Open your door in 5 minutes." Ava frowned. She quickly typed, "What?" No reply. She stared at the phone. Then, at the front door. 5 minutes later, a knock. Exactly 5 minutes. Ava stood, walked to the door, opened it, and froze. Adrian stood there, holding takeout bags, still wearing his dark suit. Tie loosened. Hair slightly messy. He looked like he'd come straight from work. Ava blinked. "What are you doing here?" Adrian lifted the bag slightly. "You didn't eat." Ava stared, completely speechless. No one had done something like this for her in a very long time. No performance, no announcement. Just quiet action, simple care. Adrian studied her. "Are you going to let me in?" Ava stepped aside, still stunned. "Yes." He walked in calmly, set the food on the kitchen counter, surveyed her briefly. "You look exhausted." Ava laughed softly. "Thank you." He glanced at her. That wasn't a compliment. She smiled, despite herself. They unpacked food in comfortable silence. Pasta, soup, garlic bread, simple comfort food, exactly the kind she liked. Ava looked at him. How did you know what to order? Adrian opened containers. You mentioned it once. She froze. When? 2 weeks ago. A pause. You said pasta fixes bad days. Ava stared at him. 2 weeks ago. He remembered something that small. Her chest tightened. Emotion rose unexpectedly, because it wasn't about the food. It was about being seen. Really seen. Adrian glanced up. His gaze sharpened. What? Ava quickly looked away. Nothing. He studied her for a second. Then quietly. It's not nothing. That voice. Gentle. Steady. Too observant. Ava swallowed. Then exhaled slowly. You remember everything. Adrian's expression softened. No. A pause. Just the things that matter. Silence. The words settled heavily between them. Ava felt her heartbeat quicken. Because something about that sentence felt intimate. Dangerously intimate. They sat at her small dining table and ate. Conversation came easily. They talked about work, about annoying co-workers, about ridiculous meetings. At one point, Adrian admitted he once sat through a 4-hour meeting that accomplished absolutely nothing. Ava laughed so hard she nearly spilled water. The sound surprised her, not just because she was laughing, but because it felt natural, real. It had been a long time since laughter came this easily. As the evening passed, Ava noticed something. She wasn't thinking about Trevor, not once. That realization hit unexpectedly. For weeks, Trevor had occupied too much space in her mind. Pain, anger, questions. But tonight, that space felt quieter, not healed, but quieter. Adrian somehow created peace around her. That scared her, because peace could become addictive, and Ava was beginning to crave it. Later, after dinner, they moved to the couch. The city lights glowed softly through her windows. The apartment felt calm, warm, safe. Ava sat with her legs tucked beneath her. Adrian sat beside her. Not too close, not too far. The silence between them stretched, comfortable. Then Adrian spoke. You're staring. Ava blinked. She hadn't realized. She laughed softly. You notice everything. Yes. She smiled, then studied him openly. You're very confusing. Adrian raised an eyebrow. How? Ava thought carefully, then answered honestly. You're intense. A pause. Quiet. Another pause. Sometimes intimidating. His expression remained calm. But? Ava held his gaze. But you're also kind. That word lingered. Kind. Adrian went still. His expression changed slightly. Something vulnerable surfaced, almost too quickly to notice. Then he asked quietly. Kind? Ava nodded. Yes. Her voice softened. You hide it well. Silence. Then Adrian said something unexpected. Most people don't notice. Ava's chest tightened. She believed him. Most people probably saw power, control, success, not the quiet kindness underneath. She spoke softly. I do. The room fell silent, heavy, charged. Something shifted. Again. Adrian's gaze dropped briefly to her lips, then returned to her eyes. Ava's pulse jumped. The air felt different now. Warmer, tighter, more dangerous. Neither moved. Neither spoke, but both felt it. The tension, the attraction, the pull. Ava's breathing slowed, then quickened. Adrian's voice came low, almost rough. Ava? Just her name, nothing else. But the way he said it sent warmth rushing through her. She held his gaze. Her heart pounded. Everything around them faded. The city noise, the clock ticking, the outside world, gone. Only this moment remained. Only him. And for the first time since meeting Adrian, Ava realized something terrifying. This wasn't just emotional connection anymore. This was becoming something deeper, something dangerous, something real. She was falling for him. And judging by the way Adrian looked at her, he was falling too. The shift happened slowly, so slowly that Ava almost didn't notice it at first. At the beginning, Adrian had been consistent, steady, present, morning texts, lunch check-ins, dinner twice a week, late-night calls. He had become part of her routine in a way that felt natural, comfortable, safe. But now, something was changing. Not dramatically, not in a way most people would immediately recognize. Just small things, subtle things. The kind of things only someone paying close attention would notice. And Ava noticed. Of course she noticed. It started with delayed replies. Then, shorter texts. Then missed calls. Adrian was still kind. Still thoughtful. Still Adrian, but he felt farther away. And Ava hated how quickly she recognized that feeling. Because distance had a pattern, and she knew that pattern too well. Monday evening, Ava sat at her desk finishing reports when her phone buzzed. Adrian. Emergency board meeting. Dinner tonight won't work. I'm sorry. Ava stared at the message, then typed, "It's okay, good luck." A few seconds later, "I'll make it up to you." She looked at the screen. A small ache formed in her chest. She told herself not to overthink. It was one cancelled dinner. That's all. He was busy. Life happened. She understood busy. More than most. So why did this bother her? Because deep down, it wasn't about dinner. It was about what the cancellation triggered. An old wound. A familiar fear. The next few days didn't help. Adrian traveled to Chicago for meetings, then to Boston, then back to New York City. His company was in the middle of a massive acquisition. The pressure was intense. Ava knew that. She reminded herself constantly. Still, the distance grew. Thursday night, 11:47 p.m. Ava lay in bed staring at her phone. Unread message. Sent 7 hours ago. Nothing. No response. Her chest tightened. She hated this feeling. Hated how familiar it felt. Trevor. The memory surfaced uninvited. Trevor disappearing emotionally. Trevor growing distant. Trevor replying less. Trevor saying he was busy. Ava closed her eyes. No, this isn't Trevor. Adrian is different. But fear wasn't logical. Pain had memory. And memory didn't care about logic. The next morning, Adrian finally replied. Sorry, crazy night. Barely slept. That was all. Short, practical, detached. Ava stared at the message. Something in her chest sank. Not because of the words, because of the tone. Cold. Brief. Unlike him. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, hope things calm down soon. He replied 2 hours later. Me too. That was it. Ava locked her phone. Then set it face down on her desk. Her chest felt heavy. The hospital around her buzzed with its usual chaos. Phones ringing, monitors beeping, voices overlapping. But internally, everything felt too quiet, too loud, too painful. Jasmine entered her office. One look at Ava's face told her something was wrong. Jasmine closed the door behind her. What happened? Ava rubbed her forehead. Nothing. Jasmine crossed her arms. That answer usually means something happened. Ava exhaled, then admitted, Adrian's been distant. Jasmine's expression softened. How distant? Ava hesitated, then answered honestly. Busy, distant. A pause. Or emotionally distant. Jasmine sat down. That's different. Ava laughed quietly, without humor. I know. She leaned back in her chair, then finally said what she'd been afraid to admit. I feel stupid. Jasmine frowned. Why? Ava swallowed. Because I can feel myself panicking. Emotion rose in her throat. And there it was. The truth. Raw. Ugly. Real. Ava looked down. I hate how fast fear returns. Her voice dropped. Just a little distance, and suddenly I feel like everything is falling apart. Silence. Jasmine listened. Ava's eyes burned. She spoke quietly. I know Adrian is busy. Her voice cracked. I know that. A pause. But part of me keeps expecting him to disappear. Jasmine's face softened with understanding. Because this wasn't about Adrian. Not entirely. This was about trauma. About betrayal. About emotional scars. Pain changes people. It rewires trust, even when someone good enters your life. Old wounds don't disappear overnight. Jasmine spoke gently. Ava. She looked up. Jasmine's voice remained calm. You're not reacting to just this week. A pause. You're reacting to what happened before. That hit instantly, because it was true. Pain from the past was bleeding into the present. Ava wiped at her eyes. Frustrated. I hate this. Jasmine nodded. I know. Ava shook her head. I don't want to become paranoid. Her voice cracked again. I don't want Trevor's mistakes to poison something good. Silence. Then Jasmine said something important. You need to talk to Adrian. Ava frowned. About what? Jasmine stared at her. The truth. Ava looked away. Fear tightened in her chest. Vulnerability. Again. Always vulnerability. Jasmine continued. You can't build something real while hiding fear. Ava swallowed. She knew Jasmine was right. Communication mattered. Silence created distance. Assumptions created damage. But talking meant risk. Talking meant admitting she cared. Deeply. and that terrified her. That afternoon passed slowly, painfully. Ava buried herself in work, but nothing distracted her for long. Her mind kept returning to Adrian, to the growing distance, to the silence, to the fear. By evening, exhaustion weighed heavily on her. She grabbed her bag and headed toward the parking garage. Halfway there, her phone rang. Adrian. Ava froze. Her heartbeat jumped. She stared at the screen. The phone continued ringing. Once, twice, 3 times. She inhaled slowly, then answered. Hello? Silence. Then Adrian's voice came through, low, tired, rougher than usual. Ava? Just hearing his voice made something inside her shift. But tension remained. Her voice stayed calm. Hi. A pause. Then Adrian said something unexpected. I need to see you. Ava stilled. Her heartbeat quickened. Something in his voice felt different. Heavy. Serious. Not casual. Not normal. She swallowed. What happened? Silence. Then. Can you come tonight? Ava's chest tightened. Because whatever was happening, it wasn't small. And deep down, she knew tonight might change everything. Ava's grip tightened around her phone. Adrian's voice still echoed in her ears. Can you come tonight? Something about his tone unsettled her. Not because he sounded cold, because he sounded exhausted, heavy, like he was carrying something he could no longer hold alone. Ava swallowed. Where are you? A brief pause. Then Adrian answered. My place. She hesitated only a second. I'm coming. The line ended. Ava stood frozen in the parking garage for a moment. Her thoughts raced. Fear, concern, anxiety, questions. Too many questions. She got into her car and drove toward Manhattan. Traffic crawled. Red lights felt endless. Her hands tightened around the steering wheel. Her mind kept replaying the past week. The distance, the silence, the delayed replies. Had something happened? Was he ending this? The thought hit hard. Her chest tightened instantly. No, don't assume. But fear didn't listen. Fear had memory, and memory was cruel. By the time Ava reached Adrian's building, her pulse was racing. The lobby was quiet, elegant, minimal. The doorman greeted her immediately. Miss Mitchell, Mr. Cole is expecting you. She nodded, barely hearing him. The elevator ride felt endless. When the doors opened, Adrian was already standing there, waiting. The moment Ava saw him, her breath caught. He looked exhausted, more exhausted than she had ever seen him. Tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair slightly disheveled, tension written all over him. But it wasn't just fatigue. It was something deeper, something emotional, something heavy. Adrian held her gaze. Ava. She stepped closer. Immediately, concern replaced fear. What happened? Silence. Long silence. Then quietly said, I messed up. Ava blinked. What? His jaw tightened. I should have handled this week differently. He exhaled, then admitted, I disappeared. The blunt honesty caught her off guard. Ava stayed quiet, listening. Adrian stepped aside. Come in. She entered. The apartment was beautiful, but understated. Clean lines, warm lighting, large windows overlooking New York City. But Ava barely noticed any of it. Her focus stayed on Adrian. He looked unsettled. That alone shook her, because Adrian was always composed, always controlled. Tonight, that control felt fractured. They moved into the living room. Neither sat. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, a rare sign of frustration. Then he spoke. This acquisition deal. His voice was tired. It's the biggest move my company has made in years. Ava listened quietly. The board is pushing hard. He looked away briefly. Pressure is coming from every direction. His jaw tightened. Investors, executives, media. He exhaled. I've barely slept. Ava's chest softened. She could see it. The weight. The pressure. Then, Adrian looked at her again. And his next words surprised her. That's not the problem. Ava frowned slightly. What is? His gaze held hers. You are. Silence. Her heartbeat stumbled. What? Adrian stepped closer. Not too close. Just enough to make the air feel charged. His voice dropped. You matter to me. Ava froze, completely still. Every sound disappeared. Adrian's expression remained serious, raw, honest, and more vulnerable than she had ever seen. He continued. That changed everything. Her chest tightened. Adrian swallowed, then admitted something that clearly cost him. When pressure gets high. His voice lowered. I default to work. A pause. I shut everything else out. Ava listened, completely silent. Adrian continued, "That's how I've survived for years." His jaw tightened. "It's how I built everything." A painful pause. Then, "But this week," his voice roughened. "This week, I realized something." Ava's pulse quickened. Adrian's gaze never left hers. "I was shutting you out too." Emotion rose sharply in Ava's chest, because there it was, the truth. The thing she had felt but feared voicing. Adrian saw it too. He continued quietly, "I saw your messages." Ava swallowed. "I wanted to respond properly." A pause, but every hour that passed made it worse. That hit her, because she understood that spiral. Avoidance creates more avoidance. Silence creates more silence. Then Adrian said the thing that shattered her remaining defenses. "I scared you." Tears burned in Ava's eyes instantly. Because, yes, he had, not intentionally, but deeply. Adrian's voice softened. "I saw it." His gaze stayed steady. "In your replies." Ava looked away. Emotion tightened in her throat. Adrian took another step closer. "Ava." She closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. His expression softened further, and then he said it. Quietly, honestly, "I'm scared too." That stunned her. Ava stared. "Adrian? Scared?" He gave a humorless laugh. "Yes." His voice was raw now. More raw than she had ever heard. "You think this is easy for me?" He shook his head. "You make me care." A pause. "More than I expected." Her chest tightened painfully. Adrian exhaled slowly. Then came the deepest truth. "I don't know how to do this perfectly." His voice cracked slightly. The vulnerability in that tiny crack shook her. He continued, "I know business. I know pressure. I know how to win." His eyes held hers. "But this?" A pause. "You matter enough that I'm terrified of getting this wrong." Silence. Heavy. Emotional. Real. Ava's eyes filled. Because in that moment, she finally understood something. Adrian wasn't pulling away because he cared less. He pulled away because he cared deeply, and didn't know how to balance that with the life he'd built. This wasn't Trevor. Trevor ran from responsibility. Adrian was overwhelmed by responsibility. Different wounds, different flaws, different man. Ava felt tears slip down her cheeks. Adrian noticed immediately. His expression tightened. "I'm sorry." That broke her. Not because of pain, because of relief. He saw it. He understood it. She wiped at her tears, then finally spoke. Her voice shook. "You scared me." Adrian nodded immediately. "I know." Ava inhaled, then let the truth out. Raw, painful, necessary. "When you became distant." Her voice cracked. "I felt everything coming back." Tears spilled again. The silence. The waiting. The overthinking. She shook her head. Her breathing trembled. "I hated how fast I panicked." Adrian listened, completely still. Ava looked at him, completely vulnerable now. "I kept telling myself you were different." Her voice broke, but fear kept saying, "Maybe you weren't." Silence. Then Adrian crossed the remaining distance. Slowly, carefully, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He stopped in front of her. Close, very close. His voice came low, steady, warm. "Ava?" She looked up through tears. Adrian's eyes held hers with quiet intensity. Then he said, "I am different." A pause. Not perfect. Another pause. But different. Her chest tightened. Adrian lifted his hand slowly, gently brushed away a tear. The touch was impossibly soft. Then, he said the words that changed everything. "I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time since Trevor left her at the altar, Ava believed him. Before we move into the next chapter, I want to hear from you. Be honest. Have you ever been hurt so deeply that even when someone good came into your life, you still struggled to trust them? Ava's fear wasn't really about Adrian. It was about the pain she carried from betrayal. And that's something many people can relate to. Sometimes the hardest part of healing isn't meeting someone new. It's believing you're safe enough to trust again. So tell me in the comments, do you think love alone is enough to heal emotional wounds? Or do trust and communication matter even more? And if you've been enjoying Ava and Adrian's journey so far, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Love Stories by Mr. Johnson, and share this story with someone who believes real love is built through honesty, patience, and consistency. Because, in the next chapter, Ava and Adrian's bond will deepen in ways neither of them expected. And for the first time, Their hearts may become impossible to ignore. After that night, something changed between Ava and Adrian. Not just in the way they spoke, not just in the way they looked at each other. Something deeper changed. The invisible wall between them had cracked. Because vulnerability had entered the space between them. Real vulnerability. And vulnerability changes everything. For the first time, neither of them was pretending to have it all together. Ava no longer felt pressured to appear perfectly strong. Adrian no longer felt the need to hide behind control. They had seen each other clearly. The fear, the wounds, the insecurities. And instead of walking away, they stayed. That changed everything. The next few weeks felt different. Softer, closer. Their connection deepened in quiet, but meaningful ways. Adrian became intentional about protecting their time. No more disappearing into work without communication. Even on his busiest days he checked in. Sometimes with long messages, sometimes with simple ones. But he showed up. Consistently. And Ava noticed. That consistency slowly healed something inside her. Not instantly. Healing never worked that way. But piece by piece, trust began growing. One evening, Ava stood in her kitchen trying to cook pasta while balancing a phone call with Adrian, which was going badly, very badly. Smoke rose from the pan. Ava coughed. "Oh no." Adrian's voice came through the phone. "What happened?" Ava groaned. "My dinner is trying to kill me." Silence. Then, Adrian laughed. A real laugh. Warm, deep, completely unguarded. Ava froze for a second. She smiled. "I'm glad my suffering is entertaining." His voice still carried amusement. "You're a terrible cook." Ava gasped dramatically. "Excuse me?" Adrian sounded far too calm. "I'm stating facts." She rolled her eyes. "You've never tasted my cooking." A pause. Then, "I've smelled it." Ava burst into laughter. "Wow." She shook her head. "That was rude." Adrian's voice softened. "You're laughing." Her smile faded slightly. "Because he noticed that too." She spoke quietly. "Yes." A pause. "Because of you." Silence. Not awkward. Just meaningful. Then Adrian said softly, "Good." Something warm spread through Ava's chest. The conversation moved on. But that small moment stayed with her. Because laughter had become easier around him. Happiness had become easier around him. And that realization was both comforting and terrifying. Because happiness meant vulnerability. Again. Later that week, Adrian invited her to his apartment for dinner. This time, he cooked. Ava arrived at 7:30 p.m. The moment Adrian opened the door, something felt different. More relaxed. More personal. He wasn't dressed in his usual sharp business clothes. Just black joggers and a fitted grey shirt. Simple. Comfortable. Human. And annoyingly attractive. Ava raised an eyebrow. "You cook?" Adrian stepped aside. "Yes." She walked in. Suspicious. "Properly?" A hint of amusement touched his face. "We'll find out." The smell from the kitchen was incredible. Garlic, butter, herbs. Ava blinked. "Okay, that smells unfairly good." Adrian's lips curved slightly. "Thank you." She studied him. "You're full of surprises." He held her gaze. "So are you." The words landed softly, but meaningfully. Dinner was surprisingly good. Very good. Ava hated admitting that. She pointed her fork at him. "I don't like this." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "What?" "You're good at everything." A rare smile appeared. "Not everything." Ava studied him. There was something in his tone. Something quieter, more honest. Before she could respond, Adrian asked, "Can I ask you something?" Ava nodded. "Sure." His gaze stayed on hers. "What do you want?" She blinked. The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean?" Adrian leaned back slightly. "In life." A pause. "What do you actually want?" Ava stilled, because no one had asked her that in a long time. Not really. People asked about work, about responsibilities, about plans, but not this, not what she wanted. Ava looked down, thinking. Then she spoke slowly, honestly. "I want peace." Adrian remained silent, listening. Ava continued. "I spent so much of my life carrying things. Work pressure, family expectations, relationship problems." She exhaled. "I'm tired." Her voice softened. "I want a life that feels peaceful." She looked up. Her gaze held his. "I want love that feels safe." Silence. The words lingered. Heavy, honest, real. Adrian's expression changed. Something softened deeply in his eyes. Then he asked quietly, "Safe?" Ava nodded. "Yes." A painful honesty surfaced. I don't want confusion. Her voice lowered. I don't want inconsistency. A pause. I don't want to constantly wonder where I stand. Adrian's jaw tightened slightly, because he understood exactly what she meant. Ava continued softly. I want something real. She swallowed. Something steady. The room felt quiet. Still, Adrian's gaze never left hers. Then he spoke, low. What if you already have that? Ava's heartbeat stopped, then accelerated. Her breath caught. The air shifted instantly. Charged, heavy, dangerous. Because suddenly, this wasn't abstract anymore. This wasn't just conversation. This was them. Her pulse thundered. She held his gaze. Neither moved. Neither looked away. Then Adrian spoke again. His voice quieter now. More vulnerable. More honest. Ava. Just her name. Yet it carried everything. Emotion rose in her chest, because she heard it. The meaning beneath his words. The truth he wasn't fully saying. Not yet. But close. Very close. And for the first time, Ava realized neither of them could keep pretending this was just friendship. What existed between them had become far too deep. Far too real. And both of them knew it. The silence between them stretched. Neither moved. Neither looked away. Ava could hear her own heartbeat. Fast. Loud. Unsteady. The air between them felt charged now. Different. No more hiding behind casual conversation. No more pretending. Something real stood between them. Something undeniable. Adrian's words lingered in the air. What if you already have that? Ava swallowed. Her throat felt dry, because she knew exactly what he meant. And judging by the intensity in his eyes, he knew she understood. Her pulse raced. Part of her wanted to look away, to break the moment, to say something light, something safe. But another part, the honest part, was tired of running from truth. So she stayed, held his gaze, and let the silence speak. Adrian finally broke it. His voice was low, careful. Ava? The way he said her name made warmth rush through her. His expression remained steady, but she saw it now. The vulnerability, the tension, the risk. This wasn't easy for him either. That realization calmed something inside her. Adrian exhaled slowly, then said the words that changed everything. I care about you. Simple, direct, pure Adrian. No dramatic speech, no unnecessary words, just truth. And somehow, that hit harder than anything else. Ava's chest tightened. Emotion rushed through her, because she believed him. Completely. Adrian held her gaze, then continued. More than I planned to. A faint humorless smile touched his lips. As if this was ever something I could plan. Ava almost smiled. Almost. But emotion was too overwhelming. Adrian's voice softened. When I met you, he paused, thinking, choosing his words carefully. I expected one strange day. Ava's breathing slowed. He continued. A wedding disaster. A public mess. A woman I helped because no one else moved. His gaze deepened. That's all? A pause. Then, but somewhere along the way. His voice lowered. You became important. Tears burned behind Ava's eyes. Adrian kept going. Honest, vulnerable, unfiltered. I think about you constantly. Her heart pounded. His voice roughened slightly. I notice when you're quiet. When you're tired. When something feels wrong. A pause. I notice everything. Emotion swelled painfully in Ava's chest, because she knew. She had felt it all along. Adrian stepped closer, slowly, carefully, still giving her space. Then he stopped, very close now. His voice came softer. I know your fear is real. His eyes held hers. I know trust isn't easy for you. A pause. I know loving someone again feels terrifying. Ava's eyes filled. Adrian lifted a hand, slowly, carefully. His fingers brushed a loose strand of hair from her face. The touch was impossibly gentle. Then he said the words her heart had been waiting to hear. But I want this. Ava's breath caught. His gaze intensified. I want you. Silence. Heavy. Powerful. Everything inside her shook. Because there it was. No confusion. No mixed signals. No uncertainty. Just truth. Clear. Honest. Undeniable. Adrian wanted her. Not casually. Not temporarily. Seriously. Ava felt tears spill. She laughed softly through them. Overwhelmed. Emotional. Terrified. Relieved. Adrian's expression softened instantly. His thumb brushed away a tear. You're crying. Ava let out a shaky laugh. Yes. A pause. I know. He almost smiled. That tiny hint of warmth steadied her. Ava inhaled slowly, then finally let herself speak, completely honestly. I'm scared. Her voice trembled. Raw. Open. No defenses left. Adrian's expression softened further. I know. Ava shook her head, tears falling freely now. No. Her breathing trembled. You don't understand. Emotion poured out now. Months of pain, fear, healing, everything. I'm scared because this feels real. Her voice cracked. So real. A tear slipped down. Ava looked directly at him. Vulnerable. Completely exposed. You matter to me too. The words left her before fear could stop them. Adrian froze, completely still. Ava continued, voice shaking. You matter so much that it terrifies me. A pause. I wasn't supposed to feel this again. Tears fell faster. Not this soon. She laughed weakly through tears. Honestly, not at all. Adrian listened, silent, focused entirely on her. Ava inhaled shakily, then admitted the deepest truth. When Trevor left, pain tightened in her voice. He didn't just break my heart. A pause. He broke something in me. Adrian's jaw tightened. Ava swallowed hard. He made me question everything. My judgment, my worth, my ability to trust. Her voice cracked. So yes. So she held Adrian's gaze. I'm scared. Silence. Then, Adrian did something unexpected. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth. His voice came low, steady, grounding. Ava. She looked up. His eyes held hers with quiet intensity. Then he said, You don't have to stop being afraid tonight. Her breath caught. Adrian's voice softened. You don't need perfect certainty. A pause. You don't need guarantees. His hand remained gently against her cheek. Warm, steady, real. You just need honesty. Emotion tightened in Ava's chest. Then Adrian gave her something even more powerful. Permission. Permission to feel. Permission to be imperfect. Permission to trust slowly. His voice dropped. I'm here. A pause. I'm not asking for perfect. Another pause. I'm asking for real. Silence. Heavy. Emotional. Then, something inside Ava shifted. Not fear disappearing. No, fear was still there. But something stronger rose beside it. Trust. Trust in him. Trust in what they were building. Trust in what she felt. And for the first time since the altar, fear no longer felt stronger than hope. Ava's voice came barely above a whisper. I want this too. Adrian went completely still. Her heart pounded. Then she said the words that changed both of them. I want you too. Something raw flashed across Adrian's face. Relief. Emotion. Something powerful. Then his voice came rough. Ava. But she didn't let him finish. Because, for once, she stopped overthinking. Stopped running. Stopped letting fear decide everything. Instead, she leaned forward and kissed him, softly, honestly, completely. The moment their lips met, everything changed. Kissing Adrian felt nothing like Ava expected. There were no fireworks, no dramatic rush, no dizzy, unrealistic perfection. It felt better than that. It felt real. Warm, steady, safe, like exhaling after holding her breath for far too long. Adrian's hand remained gently against her cheek. Careful, as though even now he was giving her room to pull away. She didn't, not even slightly, because for the first time in a very long time, Ava felt certain, not about the future, not about guarantees, but about this moment, about what she felt. When they finally pulled apart, neither spoke immediately. The silence between them felt softer now, different, intimate. Adrian rested his forehead lightly against hers. His breathing remained steady, but his voice carried emotion she had never heard before. You kissed me first. Ava laughed softly, a little breathless. Yes. A faint smile touched his lips. That surprised me. Ava smiled. Good. Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, like he was still processing this moment. Then, his expression softened. You have no idea how much self-control that required. Ava blinked, then laughed. That almost sounded like a complaint. A rare smile appeared. It wasn't. She smiled. Then something warm settled inside her. Peace. For the first time in months. Real peace. Not temporary distraction. Not avoidance. Peace. That night changed everything. Not because everything suddenly became perfect. It didn't. They were still two busy adults with demanding careers. Life didn't pause for romance. Ava still worked exhausting hospital shifts. Adrian still managed a company worth billions. Schedules remained chaotic. Deadlines didn't disappear. Stress still existed. But something fundamental had changed. They stopped pretending. This was real now. They were real. Over the next few weeks, they began learning what it meant to build something together. Slowly, intentionally, Ava noticed Adrian becoming more open. Still quiet. Still controlled. Still deeply Adrian. But softer with her. Warmer. More expressive. Not always through words. Mostly through actions. Through consistency. Through presence. Through small things. He learned her routines. Her favorite tea after stressful shifts. Her habit of skipping meals when overwhelmed. The way she rubbed her temples when stressed. And every time he noticed, he responded. Quietly. Thoughtfully. One rainy Thursday evening, Ava returned home exhausted. She opened her apartment door and froze. There, sitting neatly outside her door, was a paper bag from her favorite restaurant. Attached was a simple note. She picked it up. Her chest warmed instantly. The handwriting was neat, precise, very Adrian. Eat first. Stress later. Adrian. Ava laughed softly, then shook her head. Unbelievable. She texted him immediately. Are you trying to become annoyingly perfect? His reply came seconds later. No, then another. Just consistent. That message stayed with her. Because consistency, that was what mattered. Not perfection. Consistency. Showing up, again and again. That was what made Ava feel safe. That was what made trust grow. And, slowly, she began relaxing. Truly relaxing. Allowing herself to enjoy this. To believe in this. To believe in him. Which was exactly why what happened next hit so hard. It was Monday evening. Ava had just finished a brutal 12-hour shift. Her body ached. Her mind was exhausted. She stepped out of the hospital and headed toward the parking garage. Halfway there, she stopped. Her entire body froze. A man stood near her car, hands in pockets, waiting. Her chest tightened instantly. No, no, no. Trevor, her heartbeat exploded. He looked exactly the same. Familiar, comfortable, painfully familiar. Tall, well-dressed, clean-cut. The face of the man who had shattered her life. Ava felt cold. Every painful memory came rushing back. The altar, the text, the humiliation. Trevor slowly stepped forward. His expression carried something she didn't expect. Regret. Real regret. Ava. Just hearing his voice made anger rise sharply in her chest. Her expression hardened. What are you doing here? Trevor swallowed. I need to talk to you. Ava stared. Disbelief quickly became anger. Cold anger. Sharp anger. You lost the right to talk to me months ago. Trevor looked down briefly, then back at her. I know. His voice was quiet, heavy. I know I hurt you. Ava laughed bitterly. Hurt me? She stepped closer. Her voice sharpened. You humiliated me. Trevor flinched. Good. Let him feel uncomfortable. Ava's breathing shook with anger. You abandoned me at the altar. Tears burned unexpectedly. Not from pain, from rage. In front of everyone. Trevor's expression crumbled. I know. Ava shook her head. No. Her voice trembled. You don't. Silence stretched. Trevor's eyes filled with regret. Then he said something that made her chest tighten. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Ava froze. Trevor stepped closer. Emotion filled his voice. Leaving you was the worst decision I've ever made. Her jaw tightened. No, no, absolutely not. Trevor continued. Raw. Desperate. I panicked. His voice shook. I was overwhelmed. Ava stared at him, unmoved. Trevor swallowed hard. But, leaving you... His eyes filled. It destroyed me too. Silence. Ava's expression remained unreadable. Then Trevor said the words she never expected. I want another chance. The world went still. Ava blinked once, then stared at him. Disbelief, shock, then anger. Pure anger. Trevor's voice broke. I still love you. Ava felt something inside her snap. Because after everything, after all the pain, after all the healing, he had the audacity to return now, to ask for another chance, to say he loved her. And, deep down, Ava knew this moment wasn't just about Trevor. This was a test, a painful one, a dangerous one. Because sometimes the past returns for one reason, to reveal whether you've truly healed. Ava stared at Trevor in complete disbelief. The audacity of this man was almost unbelievable. For a moment, words failed her. Not because she was confused, not because she felt torn, because she was stunned by how casually he had returned, as if months of pain could be erased with regret and an apology. Trevor took another cautious step forward. "Ava, please." Her expression hardened instantly. "Stop." His movement froze. Ava's voice came low, sharp, controlled. "No." Trevor swallowed. "Ava, just hear me out." "No." This time her voice rose. Stronger, firmer. Months ago, she might have softened. Months ago, she might have listened. Months ago, his pain might have moved her. But not now. Not anymore. Ava held his gaze. Cold, steady. "You don't get to disappear, destroy me, then come back asking for understanding." Trevor's face tightened with pain. "Ava, I know I messed up." She laughed bitterly. "Messed up?" Her anger sharpened. "You're still minimizing it." Trevor shook his head quickly. "No, that's not what I mean." Ava stepped closer. Years of buried pain rose to the surface. Raw, powerful, necessary. Her voice trembled, not with weakness, with emotion, with truth. "You humiliated me in front of everyone I loved." Trevor looked shattered. Good, he needed to hear this. Ava continued. "You didn't just leave me." Tears burned. "You left me standing at an altar, wondering what was wrong with me." Trevor's eyes filled. Ava's voice cracked. "Do you know what that did to me?" Silence. Trevor said nothing. Ava shook her head. "No." Her breathing trembled. "You don't." Tears slipped down. But this time, she didn't wipe them away. She let them fall. Because these tears weren't weakness. They were release, truth, healing. Her voice lowered. Painfully honest. "You broke something in me." Trevor's face crumbled. "Ava." She shook her head. "No." Ava inhaled deeply, then said what mattered most. "I spent months trying to rebuild myself." A pause. Months trying to understand how someone I trusted could discard me like I meant nothing. Trevor's voice broke. "You meant everything." Ava laughed bitterly. "If that were true, you would have talked to me." Silence. That landed, because it was true. Love doesn't run from difficult conversations. Love communicates. Love stays, even when things get hard. Trevor looked down, defeated, then quietly admitted, "I was a coward." Ava said nothing. Trevor looked back at her, tears in his eyes, real regret. But regret was no longer enough. Not now. Not after everything. Trevor exhaled shakily. "I know I don't deserve another chance." Ava remained silent. He continued, "But I had to try." A pause, because losing you made me realize what I threw away. Her chest remained steady. No confusion, no longing, no emotional pull. That realization surprised her, because she had feared this moment, feared seeing him again, feared old feelings returning. But standing here now, she felt something unexpected. Clarity. Pure clarity. Trevor wasn't her future. Trevor was pain. Trevor was confusion. Trevor was inconsistency. Trevor was a chapter that ended. And deep in that realization came another truth. Adrian. The thought of him changed everything, because Adrian never confused her. He brought peace, safety, consistency. He stayed. That difference felt overwhelming now. Trevor noticed the change in her expression. His face tightened. "There's someone else." It wasn't a question. Ava held his gaze. She said nothing. Trevor's expression darkened with realization. "It's him." Silence. Trevor let out a painful laugh. "The billionaire." Ava's jaw tightened. "Don't." Trevor stared. "You're with him." Ava's voice sharpened. "That's none of your business." Trevor's shoulders dropped. Defeat. Pain. Understanding. All at once. He swallowed hard. Then asked quietly, "Do you love him?" The question hit hard, not because she didn't know, because hearing it out loud made it real. Ava's heartbeat quickened. "Do you love him?" Her mind flashed through countless moments. The church, the diner, the late-night calls, the food deliveries, the consistency, the way he noticed everything, the way he made her feel safe, seen, chosen. The truth rose instantly, powerfully. Yes. Trevor watched her expression carefully. Then he saw it. Her silence gave him the answer. His face fell. Completely. Because now he knew. He had truly lost her. Trevor exhaled slowly. Pain filled his voice. "I never stopped loving you." Ava looked at him. Calm now. Steady. Then she spoke. Clear. Final. "That may be true." Trevor's eyes locked on hers. Ava's voice remained firm. But love without courage means nothing. Silence. Heavy silence. The truth landed between them. Love alone isn't enough. Not without honesty. Not without communication. Not without showing up. Trevor lowered his gaze, defeated. Then Ava said the words that finally closed the door. "You need to let me go." Trevor closed his eyes briefly. Pain crossed his face. Then he nodded, slowly, like a man accepting defeat. When he looked up again, tears filled his eyes. "I'm sorry." This time, Ava believed him. He was sorry, genuinely. But some apologies arrived too late. Ava's voice softened slightly. "I know." Trevor swallowed hard, then finally turned, walked away, just like he had months ago. Only this time, Ava didn't break. She stood still, breathing, watching him leave, and felt something powerful. Freedom, real freedom, because she finally understood. Healing wasn't forgetting the pain. Healing was no longer letting the pain control you. Her phone suddenly buzzed. Ava looked down. Her heart skipped. Adrian, a message. "I'm outside." Her pulse quickened. She looked up and froze. Across the parking lot, near a black car, Adrian stood there, watching, his expression unreadable. And suddenly, Ava realized something terrifying. She had no idea how much he had seen. Ava's heart dropped. Adrian stood across the parking lot, still, unreadable, watching her. The evening air suddenly felt cold. Too cold. Her pulse pounded loudly in her ears. How long had he been there? How much had he seen? Did he hear Trevor? Did he hear enough to misunderstand? Ava swallowed hard. Fear rose instantly. Not because she had done something wrong, because silence leaves room for assumptions. And assumptions can destroy even good things. Adrian didn't move immediately. He simply stood there beside his car, hands in his pockets. Expression controlled, too controlled. That unsettled Ava more than anger would have, because anger was easy to read. Silence wasn't, and Adrian had mastered silence. Finally, he walked toward her. Slowly, calmly, measured. Ava's heartbeat accelerated with every step. When he reached her, his gaze settled on her face. Sharp, quiet, unreadable. His voice came low. "You okay?" Ava blinked. Of all things he could say, that? She nodded quickly. "Yes." A pause. Then she asked, "How long have you been here?" Adrian held her gaze. Long enough. He didn't say it, but she felt it. Her chest tightened. "Adrian." He cut in gently. "You don't need to explain." Ava froze. "What?" His expression remained calm. Almost too calm. Then he repeated, "You don't owe me an explanation." That hit instantly, because his words sounded respectful. But the distance behind them felt sharp. Cold. Ava frowned. "What does that mean?" Adrian looked away briefly, then back at her. His jaw tightened slightly. "It means Trevor came back." A pause. "You talked." Another pause. "That's between the two of you." Ava stared. No, no. This was wrong. Very wrong. Because this wasn't indifference. This was withdrawal. Adrian was retreating emotionally. She felt it immediately, and panic rose. Adrian, his gaze remained steady. Controlled. Too controlled. She hated it. Because she knew this version of him. The version that shut down under emotional pressure. The version that retreated into silence. Ava stepped closer. "No." Her voice sharpened. "No, don't do that." Something shifted in Adrian's expression. Barely. "What?" Ava's breathing quickened. "Don't shut down." Silence. Adrian's jaw tightened. Ava continued. Emotion rising now. Raw. Urgent. "You're doing it right now." His gaze hardened slightly. "No, I'm not." Ava stared at him. "You are." Her voice shook. "You're pulling away." Silence. Then Adrian said quietly, "I'm trying to respect your space." Ava frowned. "My space?" He held her gaze. "Yes." A pause. "If there are unresolved feelings." Ava stared in disbelief, then immediately cut him off. "No." Her voice came sharp, firm, final. "No." Adrian went still. Ava's breathing shook, because now she understood. He misunderstood everything. He thought Trevor's return had changed something. He thought she was confused. He thought she needed space to figure things out. Her frustration rose instantly. Not anger, frustration, painful frustration, because this was exactly what they promised not to do. Assume, withdraw, hide, Ava looked directly at him. Her voice lowered, controlled, but emotional. "Did you hear everything?" Silence. Adrian's expression didn't change. "No." Ava exhaled sharply. "Of course. That explained everything. How much did you hear?" A pause. Then, "Enough." Ava nearly laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was frustrating. Clearly not. Adrian's gaze sharpened. Something emotional cracked beneath the surface. Finally, Ava saw it. The hurt. The insecurity. The fear. Adrian's voice lowered. Rougher now. "I saw him with you." A pause. "He was emotional." Another pause. "You looked emotional." His jaw tightened. Then came the truth. The painful truth. "I didn't want to force myself into something that wasn't mine to interrupt." That hit hard, because beneath his calm exterior, Adrian was hurting. Deeply. Ava saw it now. He wasn't cold. He was scared. Scared of losing her. Scared of becoming second choice. Scared of being vulnerable again. Just like her. That realization softened something in her. But frustration remained. Because fear was writing stories again. False stories. She stepped closer. Adrian didn't move. Ava's voice came quiet. Firm. Honest. "You should have asked me." Silence. Adrian looked at her. Ava held his gaze. "You should have talked to me." A pause. Not assumed. Those words landed. Deeply. Because they were true. Adrian knew they were true. His silence confirmed it. Ava exhaled. Then said the truth clearly. "Trevor came to apologize." Adrian remained still. Listening. Ava continued. "He asked for another chance." Something flashed in Adrian's eyes. Pain. Controlled pain. Ava saw it. Then she said, "I said no." Silence. Adrian's gaze locked onto hers. Completely. Ava's voice softened. "I told him to let me go." Emotion tightened in her chest. Then came the most important truth. The truth that mattered most. She stepped even closer. Close enough to feel his tension. Close enough to hear his breathing. Then she spoke quietly. "But there's something else he asked me." Adrian said nothing. Ava held his gaze. Her heart pounded. Then she whispered, "He asked if I love you." Silence. Everything stopped. The city noise faded. Cars, voices, wind, gone. Only this moment remained. Only them. Adrian's expression changed. The control cracked. Just slightly. Ava saw it. Then she asked softly, "Do you know what my answer was?" Adrian's breathing slowed. His eyes never left hers. A pause. Then his voice came low. "What?" Ava felt her heartbeat thunder. This was it. No fear, no running, no silence. Just truth. She looked directly into his eyes, and spoke the words she could no longer hold back. "Yes." Silence. Then Ava's voice broke slightly. Because truth carried emotion. Raw. Powerful. Real. "Yes, Adrian." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I love you." The words shattered the silence. And changed everything. For one long moment, Adrian said nothing. He simply stared at her. Completely still. Completely silent. Ava's heart pounded so hard it almost hurt. The words were out now. There was no taking them back. No softening them. No hiding behind fear. She had said it. Clearly. Honestly. Completely. "I love you." Tears burned behind her eyes. Not from regret. From vulnerability. Because those three words carried everything. Trust. Fear. Healing. Hope. And love. Real love. The kind that demands courage. Adrian's expression remained unreadable for several seconds. Then Ava saw it. The shift. The crack in his control. Emotion. Raw emotion. His jaw tightened. His breathing changed. And for the first time since she met him, Adrian Cole looked shaken. Completely shaken. Ava barely had time to process that before Adrian closed the distance between them. Fast. Urgent. His hands moved to her face. Warm. Steady. Almost trembling. Then he kissed her. Deeply. Completely. Like a man who had been holding too much inside for too long. Ava melted into him instantly. Relief crashed through her. Warm. Overwhelming. Powerful. Because this kiss felt different. Not soft. Not hesitant. Honest. Intense. Full of everything neither of them had fully said. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing unevenly, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. His hands remained gently on her face, as though grounding himself. His voice came rough, low, emotional. "Ava." She looked at him. Her chest tightened instantly. because his voice carried something she had never heard before. Emotion stripped bare. No walls, no control, just truth. Adrian closed his eyes briefly, then opened them, and what she saw there stole her breath. Love, completely, undeniably. Love. His voice shook slightly. You have no idea what you just did to me. Ava's breathing trembled. Adrian swallowed. Then finally, let everything out. Raw. Unfiltered. Honest. When I saw Trevor with you, his jaw tightened. Pain flashed across his face. Every worst thought hit me at once. Ava's chest tightened. Adrian continued. I told myself to stay calm. A humorless laugh escaped him. I told myself to be rational. A pause. But all I felt was fear. That confession hit hard, because Adrian rarely admitted fear. Yet here he was, exposed, completely vulnerable. His voice lowered. I thought I lost you. Ava's eyes filled instantly. Adrian held her gaze, emotion thick in every word. I thought he came back and reminded you of everything you had. A pause. Everything I couldn't compete with. Ava stared, shocked, because she never expected that. Adrian, feeling inadequate? It seemed impossible. But love makes everyone vulnerable, even strong people, especially strong people. She whispered, Adrian. But he kept going, truth pouring out now, no stopping it. No amount of money mattered in that moment. His voice roughened. No success. No power. His eyes burned into hers. Because none of it means anything if I lose you. Silence. Heavy. Emotional. Ava felt tears spill freely. Adrian exhaled shakily. Then came the deepest truth. The truth he could no longer hide. I love you. Everything stopped. Ava's breath caught. Emotion surged violently through her chest. Adrian's voice broke slightly. Rare. Raw. Beautifully human. I love you more than I thought possible. A tear slipped down his cheek. Ava froze, completely stunned. Adrian, crying. The man who always appeared controlled, always steady, always composed. And now, here he was, undone. Because of love. His voice lowered. I love you enough that it terrifies me. That shattered her. Completely. Ava reached up immediately. Her fingers brushed away his tear. Tenderly, carefully. Her own tears fell harder. Adrian's expression softened. Pain, relief, love, everything together. Then he said the words that would stay with Ava forever. You changed me. Ava's chest tightened painfully. Adrian held her gaze. Before you... His voice softened. I thought love was distraction. A pause. Risk. Another pause. Weakness. He exhaled slowly, then looked at her like she was the most important thing in the world. You taught me love can be peace. Silence. Heavy. Beautiful. Then Adrian said the thing that truly broke her. You feel like home. Ava cried openly now. No restraint. No walls. Just emotion. Because after everything, after betrayal, after heartbreak, after humiliation, this was what healing looked like. Not perfection, not pain disappearing, but finding someone who made peace feel possible again. Ava smiled through tears, then laughed softly, breathless, emotional. You're making it very hard not to cry. A faint smile touched Adrian's lips. You're already crying. She laughed through tears. Yes. A pause. I know. That finally made him smile. A real smile. Warm, soft, full of love. And in that moment, Ava realized something profound. Trevor breaking her heart had nearly destroyed her. But it also redirected her. Toward this. Toward healing. Toward love that felt safe. Toward Adrian. Sometimes, heartbreak doesn't end your story. Sometimes it changes your path, leading you somewhere better, somewhere real. Adrian gently brushed her cheek. His voice softened. No more assumptions. Ava nodded, tears still in her eyes. No more silence. He nodded. No more running. Ava smiled. No more fear deciding everything. Adrian's gaze warmed. Then he leaned forward and kissed her again. Softer this time. Slower. Full of promise. Full of peace. And standing there beneath the dim city lights, two wounded hearts finally understood something life had taken years to teach them. Love doesn't ask for perfection. Love asks for honesty, for courage, for presence, for choosing each other, again, and again, and again. After that night in the parking lot, something inside Ava settled. For the first time in a long time, there was no confusion, no uncertainty, No fear whispering worst-case scenarios. Not because life had suddenly become perfect, but because truth had replaced silence, and truth brought peace. Ava and Adrian moved forward differently after that. Stronger, more intentional, more honest. They had both learned something important. Love isn't protected by avoiding difficult conversations. Love is protected by facing them together. The weeks that followed felt beautifully ordinary. And somehow, that ordinary life became Ava's favorite part. Not grand gestures, not dramatic moments, just real life, shared life. Tuesday mornings began with Adrian's messages. Eat breakfast. Ava would roll her eyes every single time. Then reply, "Stop bossing me around." His answer never changed. No. That always made her laugh. Thursday evenings often became dinner at her apartment. Some nights, Adrian cooked. Some nights, they ordered takeout. Some nights, Ava attempted to cook, and Adrian quietly intervened before disaster happened. One Friday night, she stood in her kitchen, stubbornly insisting she could make grilled salmon. Adrian leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching, suspiciously calm. Ava narrowed her eyes. "What?" His expression remained neutral. "I'm observing." She frowned. "Observing what?" His gaze moved to the pan, then back to her. "Potential danger." Ava gasped. "I'm offended." Adrian almost smiled. "You should be careful with that oil." Ava rolled her eyes. "I know what I'm doing." 3 seconds later, oil splattered. Ava yelped. Adrian moved instantly, turning down the heat, taking the spatula from her hand. Calm, efficient, infuriatingly capable. Ava stared, then sighed dramatically. "I hate how competent you are." Adrian's lips curved. "That's not true." She crossed her arms. "It's a little true." That earned a real smile. And just like that, they both laughed. Moments like that became everything. The small moments, the quiet moments, the ordinary moments. Ava began realizing something profound. This was love. Not fireworks, not chaos, not emotional highs and lows. Peace, safety, consistency, choosing each other daily. That was love. One Sunday morning, Ava woke up to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window. She blinked slowly, then smiled. Adrian slept beside her, peacefully, one arm resting across the bed. His usually composed face looked softer in sleep, younger, less guarded. Ava quietly studied him, her chest filled with warmth. This man, this impossible, frustrating, wonderful man, he had changed her life completely. As if sensing her gaze, Adrian stirred. His eyes opened slowly, then focused on her. A faint smile touched his lips. "You're staring again." Ava smiled. "You notice too much." His voice was rough with sleep. "Yes." She laughed softly, then moved closer, resting her head against his chest. Adrian wrapped an arm around her instantly. Natural, effortless, safe. Silence settled. Comfortable silence. Then Ava spoke softly. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian looked down at her. "You usually do." She smiled, then asked, "Are you happy?" The question lingered. Adrian's expression softened. He looked at her quietly for several seconds, then answered, "Yes." Simple, honest, real. Ava's chest warmed. Adrian gently brushed his fingers through her hair, then added, "More than I've ever been." Emotion tightened in her chest, because she believed him. Then Adrian asked, "Are you?" Ava looked up at him, smiled, and answered honestly, "Yes." A pause. Then softly, "I really am." Adrian kissed her forehead, slow, tender, and in that moment, life felt beautifully simple, peaceful, safe. Everything Ava once thought love should feel like. But life has a way of testing peace, not to destroy it, to reveal how strong it truly is. And that test came on a quiet Wednesday afternoon. Ava was in the middle of a meeting when her phone buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times. She frowned. Only one person would call repeatedly. Adrian. Her heart skipped. Something felt wrong instantly. Adrian never interrupted her work unless necessary. Never. A chill moved through her. She excused herself from the meeting and stepped into the hallway, then called back immediately. He answered on the first ring. But the voice she heard wasn't Adrian's. A man's voice. Calm. Professional. Unknown. "Hello? Is this Ava Mitchell?" Her body went cold. "Yes." The man spoke carefully. "My name is Daniel." A pause. "I'm Mr. Cole's driver." Ava stopped breathing. Fear hit instantly. Sharp, violent, paralyzing. Her voice shook. "What happened?" Silence. Then, There's been an accident. The world stopped. The hallway around Ava blurred. Noise disappeared. Everything disappeared. Only 4 words remained. There's been an accident. Her body went cold. Her heart slammed violently against her chest. Her breathing turned shallow. No, no, no. Her voice shook uncontrollably. What happened? Daniel's voice remained calm. Careful. Professional. There was a collision about 20 minutes ago. Ava gripped the phone tighter. Her legs felt weak. He's okay, right? Silence. Just 1 second of silence. But that second nearly destroyed her. Then Daniel answered. He's conscious. Ava sucked in a sharp breath. Relief hit, then vanished. Because conscious didn't mean okay. Her voice cracked. Where is he? Daniel immediately gave her the hospital name. A hospital in Manhattan. 20 minutes away. Ava was already moving. She barely remembered grabbing her bag. Barely remembered leaving work. Her body operated on pure instinct. Fear powered everything. The drive felt endless. Traffic lights felt cruel. Every red light felt unbearable. Her hands shook violently on the steering wheel. Her mind spiraled. Was he hurt badly? Was he in surgery? Was he scared? Was he alone? Tears blurred her vision. No. Stay focused. Please. Please let him be okay. The hospital came into view. Ava parked recklessly. She ran. Past the entrance. Past reception. Toward emergency. Her breathing was ragged by the time she reached the waiting area. Then she saw Daniel. He stood the moment he recognized her. His expression carried concern, relief, compassion. Ava rushed toward him. Where is he? Daniel's voice softened. He's inside. Her eyes filled instantly. How bad is it? Daniel hesitated. Ava's chest tightened. That hesitation terrified her. Finally he answered. He has a concussion. Ava stopped breathing. Daniel continued carefully. Several bruised ribs. A pause. A fractured arm. Her eyes filled with tears. But Daniel kept speaking. Nobelium internal bleeding. That hit. Relief crashed into fear. He's stable. Ava closed her eyes. A shaky breath escaped. Thank God. Thank God. But tears came anyway. Because stable didn't erase what almost happened. Daniel spoke gently. He kept asking if we reached you. That broke her, completely. A sob escaped before she could stop it. Because, even hurt, even in pain, Adrian thought of her. Daniel's expression softened. He's been asking for you. That was all Ava needed. A nurse approached. Ms. Mitchell? Ava turned immediately. Yes. The nurse offered a small reassuring smile. You can see him now. Ava nodded quickly. Her legs felt weak as she followed the nurse down the hallway. Everything inside her shook. Fear, relief, love, too much emotion, too much. The nurse stopped outside a room, then opened the door quietly. Ava stepped inside and froze. Adrian lay in the hospital bed. His left arm was in a cast. Bruising marked part of his face. A bandage rested near his temple. Machines beeped softly around him. The sight shattered her, because seeing him hurt felt wrong. Deeply wrong. Adrian looked too still, too pale, too vulnerable. As if sensing her presence, his eyes slowly opened. They found her instantly, and softened, immediately. Ava. His voice was rough, weak, but unmistakably his. That one word destroyed the fragile control she had left. Tears spilled instantly. She moved toward him, fast, until she reached his bedside. You scared me. Her voice cracked badly. Adrian's expression softened with visible pain. Not physical pain. Emotional. I know. Ava shook her head. Tears falling freely. No. Her breathing trembled. You scared me so much. Adrian carefully lifted his uninjured hand. Slowly. Ava grabbed it immediately. Held it tightly. Like letting go would break her. Adrian's thumb brushed gently across her skin. Warm. Familiar. Real. Alive. That mattered. He was alive. Ava looked at him through tears. Emotion overwhelmed her. You idiot! Adrian blinked. Then, impossibly, a faint smile touched his lips. I missed you too. A broken laugh escaped her. Half sob, half laugh. Typical Adrian, even now. She shook her head. Still crying. I hate you. His weak smile remained. No, you don't. Ava laughed through tears again, then leaned down, carefully, resting her forehead gently against his. Her shoulders shook. She cried openly. No restraint, no control, just raw emotion. Adrian stayed still, letting her cry, letting her feel everything. After several moments, Ava finally pulled back slightly. Her eyes were red. Her voice trembled. When I got that call, she swallowed hard. Emotion tightened in her throat. I thought I lost you. Silence. Adrian's expression changed instantly. The faint humor disappeared. Emotion replaced it. Deep, raw, powerful. Ava's tears fell harder. I couldn't breathe. Her voice cracked. I couldn't think. She held his hand tighter. I just kept thinking. A sob escaped. No. Her breathing shook violently. No, no, no. Adrian's eyes filled. Because now he truly understood. Understood how deeply she loved him. How deeply this affected her. Ava shook her head, still crying. Then finally said the deepest truth. Raw, unfiltered, honest. I can't lose you. Silence. Heavy silence. Then, Adrian's eyes filled with tears. Actual tears. He squeezed her hand. As much as his injured body allowed. His voice came rough. Emotional. You won't. Ava closed her eyes. More tears fell. Adrian's voice softened. I'm here. A pause. Still holding her hand. Still grounding her. Still steady. I'm still here. That broke something open inside her. Relief. Powerful relief. Ava leaned forward and kissed him. Softly, carefully. A kiss filled with gratitude. Relief. Love. When she pulled back, Adrian looked at her with quiet intensity. Then he said softly, this changes things. Ava frowned slightly. What? Adrian's gaze held hers. His voice lowered. Honest. Clear. I almost died today. Her chest tightened instantly. Adrian continued. And all I could think about. A pause. You. Tears filled her eyes again. Adrian's voice roughened. I thought about all the things I still want with you. His gaze deepened. Emotion filled every word. Mornings. A pause. Ordinary Tuesdays. Another pause. Random dinners. Ava's chest tightened painfully. Then Adrian whispered, our future. Silence. Heavy. Powerful. Then he looked directly into her eyes and said the words that changed everything. I don't want to wait anymore. Ava stared at Adrian. Her heart pounded. The machines in the room beeped softly, but everything else faded into the background. Only his words remained. I don't want to wait anymore. Emotion tightened in her chest. Adrian lay there bruised and injured. Yet his gaze remained steady. Clear. Intentional. Very Adrian. Ava swallowed. What do you mean? Adrian held her gaze. For a moment, he said nothing, as if choosing words carefully. Then he spoke, slowly, honestly. Today changed something in me. Ava listened, completely still. Adrian exhaled carefully. When that car hit. His voice remained calm, but emotion lingered beneath every word. For 1 second, everything stopped. A pause. No meetings. No pressure. No deadlines. Another pause. No company. His eyes never left hers. All the things I spent years prioritizing disappeared. Emotion rose sharply in Ava's chest. Adrian continued. And all that remained. His voice softened. Was you. Tears filled Ava's eyes instantly. Adrian's expression softened. I thought about your laugh. A small pause. The way you roll your eyes at me. Ava let out a shaky laugh through tears. His lips curved faintly. Then he continued. I thought about mornings with you. His voice lowered. Cooking with you. A pause. Growing old with you. Ava's breath caught. Emotion overwhelmed her. Adrian's gaze deepened. Then he said the truth that changed everything. I realized I don't want a life that only makes room for work. Silence. Heavy. Beautiful. Adrian continued. I want a life with you in it. A tear slipped down Ava's cheek. Adrian's voice roughened slightly. Not eventually. A pause. Not someday. Another pause. Now. The room fell silent. Ava's heart pounded violently, because she knew where this was going. And yet, hearing it still overwhelmed her. Adrian carefully shifted, ignoring obvious discomfort. Ava immediately frowned. What are you doing? Adrian didn't answer. Instead, with visible effort, he reached toward the small bedside drawer. Ava blinked, confused, then froze. Her breathing stopped. Adrian pulled out a small velvet box. Ava's eyes widened. No, no way. Her hands flew to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes instantly. Adrian looked at her, bruised, injured, exhausted, and somehow still the strongest man she had ever known. His voice came low, emotional, steady. Ava, Her tears spilled immediately. She shook her head in disbelief. Adrian gave the faintest smile. Yes. A broken laugh escaped her. Half cry, half laugh. Adrian. He opened the box. A simple, elegant ring. Beautiful. Timeless. Perfect. But Ava barely looked at it. Her attention stayed on him. Because this moment wasn't about jewelry. It was about truth. Adrian's eyes never left hers. His voice softened. I know this isn't traditional. A faint hint of humor touched his face. Honestly, nothing about us has been traditional. Ava laughed through tears. That was painfully true. Adrian continued, his voice deeper now. Raw. Open. You met me on the worst day of your life. Ava's chest tightened. You were hurting. A pause. So was I. Another pause. But somehow, his voice softened further. We found each other. Tears fell harder down Ava's face. Adrian swallowed. Emotion, visible now. Completely unguarded. You taught me something I never understood. A pause. That love isn't weakness. His eyes held hers. It's strength. Emotion crushed Ava's chest. Adrian continued. You taught me peace. His voice cracked slightly. Rare, beautifully human. You taught me what home feels like. Ava cried openly, unable to stop. Adrian's gaze softened with deep emotion. Then, he asked the question that changed both their lives forever. Ava Mitchell. His voice trembled slightly. Will you marry me? Silence. Complete silence. Ava stared at him through tears. Her entire body shook. This man. This impossible man. The man who kissed her when her world collapsed. The man who stayed. The man who earned her trust. The man who loved her with consistency. Peace. Presence. She saw everything. The altar. The diner. The late-night calls. The healing. The pain. The growth. The love. Every moment led here. To this. To him. And suddenly, Ava understood something powerful. Trevor leaving her at the altar didn't destroy her future. It redirected it. Toward something better. Toward something real. Toward love that felt safe. Love that stayed. Adrian's voice broke the silence. Soft. Vulnerable. Ava! His eyes searched hers. Nervous. For the first time in a long time, Adrian Cole looked genuinely nervous. That somehow made Ava smile through tears, then laugh softly. A real laugh. Warm. Emotional. Beautiful. She wiped her tears, then looked at him with complete certainty, and answered, yes. Adrian froze, completely still. Ava smiled wider through tears, then said it again, clearer, stronger. Yes, Adrian. A tear slipped down his cheek. Ava's voice shook with emotion. Yes. Another pause. Then, softly, of course yes. That shattered his remaining composure. Relief flooded his face. Pure relief. Pure joy. Ava leaned down carefully, holding his face gently, and kissed him. Softly, tenderly, completely. When they pulled apart, both were crying. Both laughing softly. Both overwhelmed. Adrian rested his forehead against hers. The ring box still open between them. His voice came rough. Emotional. You said yes. Ava smiled. Yes. A faint laugh escaped him. You actually said yes. Ava laughed through tears. Yes, Adrian. A pause. Then softly, I'm choosing you. Those words landed deeply, because that was what love truly was. Choice. Daily choice. Not perfection. Not fantasy. Choice. Choosing someone. Again and again. Through good days. Through hard days. Through ordinary days. Through unexpected storms. That was real love. And they had found it. 6 months later, the morning sun spilled softly across the windows of Ava's apartment. The kitchen smelled like coffee. Fresh toast. Rain tapped lightly against the glass. It was quiet. Peaceful. Ordinary. And for Ava Mitchell, ordinary had become her favorite kind of beautiful. She stood barefoot in the kitchen, wearing one of Adrian's oversized shirts, stirring coffee absent-mindedly. Life looked different now. Not easier, but fuller. Real. Better. Adrian had fully recovered. The cast was gone. The bruises had faded. But the accident had changed him. Not physically, emotionally. It had clarified everything. He worked less, or at least, smarter. He delegated more, protected his time, protected their time, and, for the first time in his life, success no longer came at the expense of living. That mattered, Because love had taught him something no boardroom ever could. Balance. Ava heard footsteps behind her. Then familiar arms wrapped around her waist. Warm. Steady. Home. Adrian rested his chin against her shoulder. Still half asleep. His voice rough with morning. "You're up early?" Ava smiled. "I always am." Adrian kissed her temple. Softly. "Bad habit." She laughed quietly. "Hospital life." He tightened his arms slightly, then spoke. "One more week." Ava smiled. "I know. 1 week. That was all. 7 days until their wedding. But unlike before, this one felt different. No giant venue. No massive guest list. No pressure. No performance. Just people who mattered. Just truth. Just love. A small ceremony at a quiet lakeside property outside New York City. Simple. Intentional. Real. Exactly what they wanted. And that mattered. Because this wedding wasn't about appearances. It was about choice. About showing up. About staying. A week later, the day arrived. The sky was clear. Soft sunlight danced across the lake. The air carried that perfect early autumn chill. Nothing extravagant. White chairs. Simple flowers. Close friends. Family. Peace. Ava stood in front of the mirror, staring at herself. Wedding dress. Again. But this time, her chest felt calm. Not anxious. Not uncertain. Calm. Jasmine stood beside her, smiling. Tears already threatening. "You okay?" Ava looked at herself, then smiled. "Yes." And for the first time on a wedding day, she meant it. Completely. Because this wasn't fear. This wasn't hope mixed with uncertainty. This was certainty. Jasmine smiled. "Good." She squeezed Ava's hand. "Because he looks like he might pass out." Ava laughed. That sounded right. Outside, Adrian stood near the water. Hands clasped tightly. Breathing carefully. Trying, and failing, to look calm. Daniel stood beside him. Watching. Amused. "You look nervous." Adrian didn't look at him. "I am." Daniel smiled. "That's probably a good sign." Adrian exhaled slowly. Yes, it was. Because love mattered. And anything that mattered carried weight. Then the music began. Adrian looked up and saw her. Ava, walking toward him. Beautiful. Steady. Radiant. And suddenly, the world disappeared. No guests. No lake. No sound. Just her. His eyes filled immediately. Emotion hit hard. Because this moment nearly never happened. Not because of fate. Because life almost pulled them apart in 100 different ways. Pain. Fear. Timing. Past wounds. Misunderstandings. But they chose each other anyway. That was what made this beautiful. Choice. Ava reached him. Their eyes locked. Adrian smiled through tears. Ava laughed softly. "You're crying." Adrian exhaled. "Yes." She smiled. "I know." That made everyone laugh. The ceremony began. Short, simple, meaningful. The officiant spoke about love, not as perfection, but as commitment, as honesty, as courage, and Ava realized that was exactly what their story had been. Not perfect, but courageous. When it came time for vows, Adrian went first. He looked directly at her, voice steady, heart open. "Ava." Emotion filled his eyes. "You met me at a moment neither of us expected." A faint smile touched his lips. "Honestly, I kissed you before I even knew you." Laughter broke through the crowd. Ava smiled. Adrian continued. "But somehow, in the chaos." "Oh," his voice softened. "I found peace." A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. "You taught me that love isn't about control." A pause. "It's about trust." His gaze deepened. "It's about showing up." Another pause. "Every day." Ava's eyes filled. Adrian swallowed, then finished. "I promise to keep choosing you." A pause. "On easy days. On hard days. On ordinary Tuesdays." That made Ava laugh through tears. He smiled. Then softly. "Always." Ava's turn. She inhaled, steadying herself, then looked at him. The man who had changed her life. "A year ago." Her voice trembled slightly. "I thought my life was over." Silence. Her eyes filled. "But it wasn't." A pause. "It was beginning." Adrian's chest tightened. Ava smiled. "You taught me that heartbreak can redirect us." A tear slipped down. "Toward something better." She swallowed, emotion thick in her throat. "You taught me that real love feels safe." A pause. Steady. Another pause. Peaceful. Her voice softened. And after everything. She smiled through tears. I choose you too. Adrian closed his eyes briefly. Overwhelmed, the officiant smiled warmly, then spoke the words they had both waited for. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Adrian didn't wait. He kissed her instantly. Soft, warm, certain. And this time, there was no humiliation, no heartbreak, no fear, only love, only peace, only home. Later that night, long after the guests left, Ava and Adrian sat together on the porch of their new home. Shoes off, wedding clothes slightly wrinkled, exhausted, happy, quiet. Ava rested her head on his shoulder. The night was still, peaceful. Adrian intertwined his fingers with hers, then asked softly, "What are you thinking?" Ava smiled. She looked out into the darkness, then answered honestly, "That, I'm glad he left." Adrian laughed softly, then kissed her forehead. "So am I." And in that quiet moment, Ava finally understood the greatest lesson of her life. Sometimes the most painful endings are not punishments. They are redirections, leading us toward people who choose us, who stay, who love us with honesty, with courage, with consistency. Because real love isn't loud. It isn't perfect. It isn't built on fantasy. Real love lives in ordinary mornings, shared coffee, honest conversations, showing up, and staying. Again, and again, and again. And sometimes, the love meant for you begins the moment everything else falls apart. What a beautiful journey. From heartbreak to healing, from pain to peace, from being abandoned at the altar to finding the kind of love that truly stays. Ava and Adrian's story teaches us something powerful. Not every painful ending is the end of your story. Sometimes, heartbreak is life's way of redirecting you toward something better, toward something real, toward the love you truly deserve. Now I want to hear from you. What was the biggest lesson you learned from Ava and Adrian's journey? Was it about healing, trust, communication, or learning that real love is built through consistency and showing up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every comment, and I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Love Stories by Mr. Johnson, and share this story with someone who needs this reminder. The right person will never leave you confused about where you stand. They will choose you, they will value you, and most importantly, they will stay. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, keep believing in love, healing, and second chances. See you in the next story.